Freedom, man. That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome one and all, you're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. And here on What on Earth is Happening, we are ending slavery one mind at a time. Welcome and thank you for tuning in today. Today is Sunday, May 22nd, 2022. This is episode number 255 of What on Earth is Happening, and we have a great show lined up for you here today. The topic of today's broadcast is going to be resources and the one great work, with my special guest, one of the great content creators from the One Great Work Network, Ivan Oyola Jr., my friend and my peer in the One Great Work. So I won't even so much be interviewing Ivan today, as I will be sort of giving him the floor and letting him set the topic and the direction for our discussion today. And then in the third hour of the broadcast, we'll be going to your calls for the topics that we talk about with Ivan today on the Discord platform in the third hour. So that's what's coming up for this edition of What on Earth is Happening. And I think it's a great time for a guest such as Ivan. I think I may even do a guest next week. As I've told everyone, I'm going through some personal turmoil and difficulty. I'm not really yet quite ready to announce exactly what it is on the air. I've told some close personal friends, etc., obviously family members. But I've been really dealing with a lot of that personal stuff in the last several weeks. So I think this is a good time to have some community and support and like-minded individuals that I could talk to on the show. And then we'll go back to more focused content as far as like topics like psyops and occult traditions to round out this season of What on Earth is Happening. So for now, I'm going to jump over to my slides so I could do a few housekeeping announcements, and then we're going to bring Ivan on the air, and I'll get right to it. Here we go. Thank you to Will Keller for the great artwork, as always, for the show. Again, the topic for today, worldly resources and the one great work, with my special guest, Ivan Oyola Jr. What on Earth is Happening is broadcasting on a streamlined format this season on a 6-month on, 6-month off schedule. I may continue this format. I may go back to a full production staff, with multiple cameras next year. We'll see what happens. We'll see what my living situation is, and I'll make that determination, before next season. But for now, from January through June, we're broadcasting on a 6-month on, 6-month off schedule. and a streamlined format with me producing myself. The How to Become the True Media is racing toward us. This great technological seminar that I host every year in the second half of the year started, a couple years back. The response to it has been fantastic, and this year should be no different. It's going to be taking place every Monday evening this year, from Monday, July 11th to Monday, December 12th. One class each week on Monday evening from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. We actually open up the class at 7 so that people can come in and, not be late, not miss anything. They have a full hour to join. Students, enrollees will have a full hour to join the class. And then after the 3 hours of class instruction, we break up for informal discussion. Anyone that wants to stay is welcome to do that for an additional couple of hours, usually at least. Obviously, no one's obligated to take part in that. If they want to participate, they can feel free to do so. So, enrollment will be going on until July 4th of this year. So, what's that? Maybe 6 weeks left to enroll, if that. So, we are at about 90% of the number that I personally want to reach. So once again, I implore people, do not wait until the last minute, because enrollment may not last that 6 weeks or however long is left. So if you do want to take part in the How to Become the True Media 2022 seminar, I would say enroll immediately and do not wait until the last minute, because enrollment could close prior to July 4th. Just putting that out there so no one feels like they weren't told that, should I close enrollment early. That's for electronic enrollment. If you enroll via check or money order, which I opened up to do this year, which was different than former years, I didn't have that option. But if you enroll by mail, the check or money order must be received in my hands by July 1st. So again, if you're waiting to enroll via mail-in donation, do not wait that long. Do not do it right up till the very last second. So all of the beginner and intermediate skill sets that are going to be taught in this class are listed at the seminar website, howtobecomthetruemedia.com. Once again, howtobecomthetruemedia.com. Check it out, and if this sounds like something that you need help with, if you need technical help, if you say, oh, I'm not a good tech person, oh, I don't know how to do what Mark and other content creators do, this is the seminar for you. I'll be taking you through all the skill sets necessary to become a content creator, to become a member of what I call the true media. Not even the new media, but the true media. There's a lot of new media that's not so true, right? This is how to become the true media, how to actually put the truth out into the world. If you understand natural law, if you understand objective morality, but what's been holding you back from sharing it publicly online is, oh, I just don't have the technical skill sets. Well, there's no excuse, because this is the seminar that will teach you every technical skill set that you need. It's extremely affordable. It's a $523.93 donation, but that includes 23 3-hour sessions. So if you break it down, it's extremely affordable. I think it comes out to under $8 an hour. You try to get hands-on instruction in the tech field for that price. Not going to be able to do it. So for more information on this great upcoming seminar and to enroll in it, visit the website howtobecomthetruemedia.com. Really looking forward to teaching this seminar this year. I think it's going to be awesome. We have a lot of enrollees already, and definitely looking forward to sharing those skill sets and that content with people. The One Great Work Network is going very strong. We're simulcasting on it right now. I'm going to be bringing on to the show today one of the great content creators from the network. So please do check out onegreatworknetwork.com, one of the biggest projects that I've ever personally began and put together with the help of many people. And not only can you support the network itself at onegreatworknetwork.com, but you can make donations to each individual content creator, which is what I implore people to do to help support them and the great work that they are doing and keep them doing it. So check it out. 60 phenomenal content creators on the network already. We're going to be adding more this year. So onegreatworknetwork.com. The What on Earth is Happening IPFS project has been opened. And if you want to help preserve all of the content that I have put together as part of What on Earth is Happening and all of my material, presentations, etc., check out whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS. IPFS is a distributed protocol that makes censorship virtually impossible and acts as a way to distribute information via many computers called nodes over the network. If you're interested in hosting an IPFS node for What on Earth is Happening content, specifically dedicated, you will need an internet connection of 200 megabits per second in the upload or upstream direction. That is one of the base main requirements, and this is a dedicated project, so nothing else is to be run on the computer that you use for the node. I would personally help you set the node up, and for more information you can go to this page and download a PDF document that will explain all of the preliminary requirements, technical requirements, and equipment that will be needed to do this. I know some people have expressed interest, and I have not yet gotten back to you. I've been exceedingly busy in all honesty, personal matters that have prevented me from putting enough of my attention on some of the things that I need to for What on Earth is Happening. Please be patient with me. There's a lot of rocky things going on personally for me, and I'm trying to balance that with the One Great Work right now, and it's proving to be somewhat of a challenge. And Ivan and I are going to get into that a little bit on the show today. So please be patient with me regarding people who have contacted me, who I know I have not yet gotten back to. I will be getting back to you probably within the next week. So whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS. Check out what IPFS is all about, and check out the What on Earth is Happening IPFS project. I'll be taking part in the second Freedom Under Natural Law Conference coming up this September 10th and 11th, 2022. The Freedom Under Natural Law Conference is a conference on topics related to unifying for freedom, being focused in action. And this year it's called Convergence, focusing on unity, focus, and action with a plethora of great speakers. Andrew Kaufman, Brandon Martin, Brandon Spencer, Brian Easterday, Chris Jansen, Cindy Lung, Crypt Rick, David Whitehead, Dana Martin, Jen Davis, Indica Martin, Leslie Powers, myself, Melissa Arnautovic, Patty Lager, Rob Smith, Sethicus Boza, Vienna Third Eye, and Will Keller. Fantastic speakers, many of whom are already on the One Great Work Network. I'm going to be preparing an original presentation for this conference myself. And for more information, please visit the conference website at freedomundernaturallaw.com. Once again, freedomundernaturallaw.com. Funnel 2 coming at you September 10th and 11th of this year. I'll also be taking part in the Shattering the Illusion Conference on September 24th, 2022, featuring Chris Jansen, Ivan Oyola Jr., my guest today, James Cordner, Jennifer Rose, Joe Murray, Mark Devlin, myself, Nathan Redette, Sean McCann, and Will Keller. This is a one-day online event about natural law, true anarchy, consciousness, mind control, and the occult. Plus music from Diesel Automatic and Joe Murray. For more information on this great event, please visit shatteringtheillusion.info. Once again, shatteringtheillusion.info. In the third hour of the show today, after Ivan and I discuss the topics that we want to get to, we will be opening up the call-in line for your calls on the Discord platform. So if you want to call in to talk to my guest Ivan Oyola and myself, visit whatonearthishappening.com/Discord. That will take you into our What on Earth is Happening Discord server, which acts as the call-in room for the show. If you're listening or watching on whatonearthishappening.com/show, there is also a widget there underneath the player where you can click that to enter the call-in room as well. So we will be taking your calls in the third hour. The ARC 2.0 offer is, of course, still available. Man, I'm telling you, ARCs are flying out of here. And it's great to see people hungry for this information. I must have sent out at least 12 ARCs this week. I had 7 in my house at one point. So people are really hungry for the information about what's been going on this planet. And the ARC is all about that. It is a repository. It's called the Amazing Repository of Knowledge. It is a repository of information that I have gathered since the time that I've been online. It's a hard drive or a solid state drive consisting of over 26,000 audio files, over 9,500 books, and over 3,400 videos from my personal archive of research that I've gathered over the years. You send me a storage device, I copy the data and send it back to you. There are rigid shipping instructions to protect your property and to make the process go smoothly, because I have to sort of handle it like almost a factory operation, because if I don't, it will get completely out of control. I mean, like I said, some days, 7 of people's hard drives pile up in my home in one day, and that's good. That's great to see. But at the same time, I have to keep up with that work, and keep them flowing and make sure that nothing happens to them and make sure the data gets copied to them, efficiently, so things aren't backlogged. So please do follow the shipping instructions. They're, it's, a little bit to read, but it really helps my workflow stay steady and not complicated. So please do have respect and follow those instructions. You can get them at whatonearthishappening.com/ARC. If you follow the shipping instructions, there will be no problem with your ARC whatsoever. I turn them around as quickly as possible and try to get them out the door the next day after they come to me. Occasionally, if they're delivered early to my residence, I could knock them out on the same day and get them back out to people. So I try to do that whenever possible, but generally it's a one-day turnaround. I'm not absolutely promising that. Obviously, I have, lots of other things going on. Sometimes it takes a couple to a few days, but in general, I don't play around with these and try to get them out as quickly as possible. So, for more info on that, whatonearthishappening.com/ARC. If you want hard copies of any of the material I've presented here over the years at What on Earth is Happening, specifically my presentations on DVD or flash drive, or if you want promotional items such as t-shirts, stickers, keychains, coasters, buttons, etc., please visit gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. I ask people there, read the page called How to Use, because it's not a regular online store. This is a donation gifts shopping cart, okay? So it works quite differently than a regular checkout of a regular online store, because you're making a donation. You're not making a purchase. You're donating in return for which you will receive the gifts that you have chosen in this cart for a donation. That's how it works. And you can go up to gifts www.whatonearthishappening.com to see all of the great items that we have available there. I attempted to put in a t-shirt order this week, and unfortunately I have not been responded to. I have to find out what is going on with the company that usually handles my t-shirts. Maybe it was an email issue, or my email went to their spam or something like that, but I'll be calling them tomorrow to determine that, and hopefully we can get the order of new t-shirts, the new batch of shirts. I'm probably going to put in an order of over 400 shirts. So hopefully that goes smoothly and we can get that fast-tracked this week if possible. So new shirts will be in soon. I apologize for the delay. Bear with me on that as well, but we will have new shirts. Hopefully I can keep printing with the same company because they do pretty good work. Actually, they do very good work, and I'd like to keep using them. But if they're unfortunately maybe had some business problems and are not operating, I'll have to find that out this week and see what I have to do. I might need to go with a different company. But I'll know that this week for sure, and move the process along. So check out gifts.whatonearthishappening.com for any hard copies of my work and promotional items. If you prefer instead to make a straight donation to the What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network cause, please visit whatonearthishappening.com/donate. There are like 13 different donation options there, including 9 cryptocurrencies, Cash App, GPay, Wise for international users, which has been working very well for international donations, and of course our technology wish list. Thank you to people who have donated technology. A couple of small items were on there. There is nothing up there right now currently as of this day, but people have generously gotten us every technological item that we've put on our wish list. So I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. It really helps, and it helps keeps things moving very efficiently here at What on Earth is Happening. And we could talk about that with Ivan as soon as I bring him on. He could tell you a little bit maybe about my operation, I should say, and how things kind of work here. We're going to be talking about that. That'll tie in nicely to procuring resources to get items that you require to do this type of work. And how that could be a stumbling point or a sticking issue for some people, because if resources don't flow in from supporters, it becomes very difficult to balance one's personal lives and a work situation, a regular full-time work situation, with doing the great work. And obviously many people still struggle with that. So definitely we'll be getting into material like that today. But if you want to make a straight donation, again, whatonearthishappening.com/donate. Thank you to everyone who has donated over the years. You know who you are, and we appreciate you very, very, very much. Those are all the housekeeping announcements. So let me back out of here and jump over to my guest. Let me get my headset together and then switch over to Discord on my laptop. Give me one moment, folks. All right. Okay. Ivan is waiting. He is in-house today. So let's bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the great content creators of the One Great Work Network, host of the podcast Guy Next Door Speaks and Free Your Mind AZ, Ivan Oyola Jr. Ivan, welcome to What on Earth is Happening. And I'm not getting your audio. Hold on one moment. Make sure you're not muted on your end, Ivan. I got to make sure you're not muted on my end. Hold on one moment. All right, let's try that again. Go right ahead.
All right.
There it is. Great.
There it is.
All right, let's go full screen with you. There you go. Ivan, welcome to the show.
Mark.
And Ivan is in-house today. He is seated just across my hallway in my small home office here at What on Earth is Happening headquarters. It would be difficult for me to bring him in right alongside me with the type of camera angle that we use here and with no producer. So instead of doing that, I am just bringing him in via Discord through my home office. So Ivan is in-house right here, but just in the next room. So Ivan, I'll let you take the floor and take this in the direction that you want to take it. You could tell people about what you've seen here coming into What on Earth is Happening headquarters, how I operate, and we can get into a discussion of resources and the one great work and other topics that you want to discuss today as the guest for the show today. So the floor is yours, my friend. Take it away.
All right. So I guess this is another Guy Next Door Speaks hijacking, What on Earth is Happening.
Exactly.
But it's Guy Next Door Speaks plus or extra or, super, because the operation I do at home, just a regular computer, the camera, microphone, and still create content. Look at this stuff, folks. I mean, I'm in a room with about, a couple of big computers that handle the One Great Work Network. He's got stuff where he creates content back there. He mentioned about shirts needing to be ordered. You can see some of these shelves.
The shelves are empty
over here. So, man, so this is a whole system. And by the way, that, Gopher you have here, that production assistant, the one with the heels, she's freaking fine. She's hot. I don't know, all these extra people you have running around. And then I saw tucked back here those fairies, that create the content that did our screen.
Thank God for all these thank God for the tech fairies that help with all of that. Thank God for the presentation gnomes. Thank God for the dwarves that help out with the production on show day. I mean, without that, I don't know what I would do, As you can see, it's just heavily trafficked. No, but, you see it's a
sarcasm, folks, sarcasm. It's just Mark. I showed up here hours ago. I got here early from New York. I'm in this area because of my oldest son's wedding, and then my younger son traveled out here, also dropped him off at the Amtrak, and then made my way over here to Mark's. And since then, just Mark by himself, folks. So that's all the sarcasm intentional there. If those people want to take and create conspiracies out of all this stuff with the NSA, CIA funding, this massive thing here. We're in a mansion, not. Yeah, this is all Mark by himself, all this stuff. So I don't know. It's incredible.
How cramped is it? How cramped is it in here, man? It's like a closet, really. It's very cramped. And, even for a couple of people to be in one of these rooms, it's cramped. So it's one of the things that I think, content creators like ourselves see and deal with every day. Tight living conditions, not having tons and tons of resources. I'm not saying I'm without resources. I'm comfortable, right? It's enough to do what I need to do. The universe has provided for that. I'm thankful for that. I have a complete mindset of gratitude for what has been provided. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this, right? But you see that, it sort of has to encroach upon your life where, I'm living meagerly in small quarters. I definitely need a little bit more room to spread this stuff out and not have to be like, well, the t-shirts came in. I have to pull down some of the things that I have on my shelf because I have no other room to put them. That is how small this place is. People talk about that I'm very good at managing space because things are so small and I have to. I joke around like all I do all day is play Tetris. It's playing Tetris to fit things in everywhere. But I do make good, efficient usage of the space. And again, very thankful for the resources that did come in as part of people being very generous and donating toward my work, because that helps. Every single thing that I use to do what I do, that we use to do what we do as content creators, requires resources. It requires money. Nobody's coming in here and saying, let me just buy everything that you need. Now, I do have an Amazon wish list that I use. I know it's Amazon and people, get nuts about that, but they make it easy to have a simple tech wish list. And, I'm using that to, get, some smaller items that I require. And it works really well. People can donate those types of resources. But if you have no resources, it becomes very difficult to begin this type of work. And you can start with little amount of resources. It's not like you have to have tons and tons and tons of money to begin this type of work. But I would say you can't have none. You're going to need some equipment, right? You're going to have to take some resources that you've accrued or acquired from somewhere, and you're going to have to use a portion of that to get some halfway decent equipment to be able to create content on. And, that is something that people have to simply allot for. They have to maybe make a little bit of a sacrifice to procure those things. And then once you do have those types of resources in hand that allow you to get the actual equipment required, we're using computers. Desks have to be bought to put the computers on. You need microphones, headsets, etc. Computer monitors, and other little ancillary technology, obviously keyboards, mice, things like that. Speakers. Then you're off to the races. Then you could actually do this type of work. And one of the things that I do in How to Become the True Media is I explain this to people. I tell them the equipment that's going to be required so you know exactly what you're dealing with. And then I show it to people and show them about how much things cost for average, sort of run-of-the-mill, not super high-end, but not junk, not cheap junk, like, mid-range, good, reliable equipment that you don't have to go out and spend top dollar on things, but you don't want absolute baseline junk either. That'll break down on you and is not worth your resources. You want good mid-range equipment that is going to be dependable, so you don't have to keep buying it every couple weeks, it breaking down and things like that. So Ivan, give me your view on how easy and or difficult, give me, your view of the spectrum of how this is when you're just starting out as a content creator, because I think that a lot of people have this fear of this is going to take unimaginable amount of resources, or this is going to really cut into my bottom line. This is really going to hurt me. I'm going to have to make a major sacrifice. You see what I have here, and it's not, it's not nothing. It's not, not a consideration. Like, money had to be put into this operation, as small as it is. I would say it's not a totally mini operation, but it's not a big operation either. It's like maybe just medium to even smaller medium operation because of the space that I have. So I can't really grow it that much unless I move into a larger space. So, give me your experience with dealing with the beginning and entering into looking at, okay, I'm going to need this. Here's how much it's going to cost. This is what I'm going to have to allot for it in my, personal resources, and, put that out there to get what I need to start making what I need to make. Because this is something that I know as a conversation it's what's going on in the minds of people who have not yet started. And I'd like your take on it as an existing content creator and how you went through that process when you were beginning.
Yeah, I started simple. Kind of how you started, simple. It was just audio. All right. I know you still had the big computer and because you were doing the archives and all that kind of stuff, or the arc. But people like me, some people might just start with a cell phone and record their stuff and just do audio and then just upload it. That's a beginning. That's simple and cheap. But then, the information, the content is what's important. So that's a simple way to start. But then you start getting into, having guests on. So now you need to either you're going to be two people in the same place recording on one device, or you got to start having equipment, technology, 2 microphones, a computer that can record and process that. Or you're going to need to edit that. Now you're starting to go, up your ante. Now, is it going to be just a regular laptop? At first, I was able to do it with an older laptop. But then once you start introducing video, right. Okay, now we're going to do a video. So now the processing increases. Now the editing increases. On the laptop, unless you're a tech person and can put stuff in there, that really isn't going to get it done. So now you got to invest in a bigger computer, a tower, and not just your regular $150 Walmart one. Well, that might work okay for, at the beginning, but again, you're still evolving and creating more stuff and you want to do more with it. And now you're talking storage, because if you put it out into the cloud, that's one thing. But if with YouTube censorship and all this kind of stuff, it gets taken down, you just uploaded it, it's gone. You need to store it, you need to save it. So again, that's another avenue. Hard drives. I noticed in your setup over there, you have a ton of all these hard drives
That's right.
and storage devices, because you need to back everything up.
That's right.
So see, we already went from just audio recording either on a phone or on a thing. Now we're talking computers, and let alone to put it out there. You need an electricity bill, right? Because all this stuff runs on electricity, and guess what? You need access to the internet.
That's right.
Internet service provider. So now you need to pay internet.
I'm really glad
all these different layers.
I'm really glad you brought up two things very important in there, and that's storage, because a lot of people don't understand how to store data, how to archive it, how to back it up. Backup is so important, okay? And I tell people in the How to Become the True Media seminar, is all of your data worth about $50? Every single piece of data that you've ever created and or downloaded and or stored on your computer? And every single one of them always says yes. And then I ask the question, how many people back up your data on a daily basis? And almost no one. Now, there's some that will raise their hand and say, yes, I do that. But guess what? It's like less than a 20th of the actual class. And then I'm saying, well, if your data is worth $50, and everybody says that it is worth infinitely more than that, how can you not be backing it up on a daily basis? And it's because they haven't really thought of that dynamic. If you look to your own left, you'll see all of the hard drives that I have there in that one little cubicle cubby stack. It's down it's all the way over to the right, to your right. And yeah, you see how all those hard drives, those are data backups. Those are, additional storage. And I've used all those drives.
Over here, you have all the disc. I notice like people have these books with the sleeves to put music CDs.
Every
or
one of those.
Movies, all your stuff.
That's
I
right.
see it right there.
Every
Folders.
one of those bags of optical discs is full of data. Now, what I'm currently doing with one of my assistants is I'm backing up all of those optical discs to solid state drives, because I don't trust that those optical discs will last my lifetime. We're going to talk about how we're going to deal with things when we're gone. Obviously, we're still generally young men, maybe not super young anymore, but you know what? There will be a time when we're not here. And we have to look at the future of how are we going to take this data, move our operations on. That's something that we're going to discuss significantly here today. But the second thing, so data and archiving and backup, that's one thing I'm very glad you brought up, because that does take resources and a little bit of knowledge and expertise. You don't have to be a computer expert to do that stuff, but a lot of people don't do it because they're not just simply thinking, I have to allot resources for backing up my stuff. And it's not that expensive. This is, I'm not saying like $2, $3, but it's under $100 to back up most computers. Now, every single device that you see in that room, the one you're on, behind that monitor that you're talking to me through, there's a backup drive. You look at the computer to your left, at the empty chair next to you. Right next to it, there's a backup drive. If you look at the computer that is operating as the One Great Work Network computer right over there to your right, on the desk, there's a backup drive. That black box right on the desk, that's a backup drive. The computer behind you that is doing the What on Earth is Happening replays when I'm not on the air live, that's acting as a streaming server, okay? Inside, there's an internal hard drive that acts as the backup drive. There is no computer on my entire network, on my whole system, that is not actively backed up daily, because my work is important to me and my data is important to me. So I allocate the resources to make sure it's backed up. And you got to do that for each computer that you use. Laptops, desktops, no exception. The second thing that you brought up that was of tremendous importance was, it slips my mind actually. There was the data, and you mentioned something else that I wanted to talk about.
Electricity bill and internet.
The internet connection. Thank you. Now, electricity is not overwhelmingly expensive, so I'm not really going to focus too much on that. When you do run an operation, a small operation like this, your bill will go up, but not so drastically that it becomes a burden. So yes, that is a consideration, and I don't think it's a huge one. But the internet connection is a huge consideration. And I see people skimp on this all the time. All the time. They are not paying what they should for a good internet connection. And most people do have the option of a very good internet connection available unto them, but they don't want the larger bill that absolutely is going to go hand in hand with that better internet connection. Folks, spend the resources on a good internet connection if you are going to get into the operation of doing this type of work. And I implore everybody who does listen and watch my show, get into this kind of work. I've been imploring you for years, for over a decade, for a decade and a half now. Do not skimp on your internet connection. I basically spend one of the classes talking about how the general concept of the internet works, why not to skimp on an internet connection, home networking, things like that. And we focus on setting up a good internet connection, buying one, understanding the different kinds of them that exist and the providers. This is something that I absolutely want people coming out of the How to Become the True Media seminar with a firm understanding of, and why it's so important not to skimp on it. People have these satellite connections and older, DSL lines, or it's just, there's so many garbage connections out there to the internet, and they'll sell you top dollar for them. They'll ask you to buy, that connection top dollar price, and they're really not worth it. What you really want is a good fiber to the home connection, meaning a fiber optic connection to the internet. It's going to be around $100 a month. But if you don't do that, the rest of your operation suffers. Okay, now cable modems can be fairly decent. They're usually capped in the upstream direction, whereas fiber to the home is generally not. They're generally synchronous connections, meaning the same amount of bandwidth upstream as downstream. But that's such an important consideration that you brought up there that I wanted to add that as an addendum. People should look at a good fiber to the home internet connection and should not skimp on the price of that connection. Get at least 250 or higher megabit connection to the internet through a fiber connection is my recommendation. And just bite the bullet and pay for that. That is as important of a resource as any other thing that you spend for goods and services. If you're going to do this kind of work, if you're going to just do mindless entertainment and not try to do the great work, then who cares what your internet connection is, But if you're going to do this kind of work, the internet connection is one of the most important dynamics in the entire setup. So just reiterating, don't skimp on that. So go ahead, Ivan, you can continue.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas we can go with that because that connects to so many different things. But, yep. Being a content creator, this is my first actual live stream kind of thing.
Awesome.
Usually I record and have time to edit, take out whatever bloopers or
Yes.
kind of stuff, and and able to clean it up and then put it up there. See, so in that instant, that's another progression. My internet speed doesn't really have to be that fast coming and going,
Right,
as long as I'm able to upload to put it up there. However, this being live stream, you got the big operation going on. Yes, we need the data to go back and forth very fast. And for me, my next tier, instead of just uploading that pre-recorded stuff, a lot of it is done like this, the way we're doing here with Discord or Zoom, where we're talking back and forth. And I know people don't like watching us going,
Right.
little freezing
Sure.
digits, that's because of the internet speed.
That's
so
right.
if we're going to do that kind of stuff and communicate information and data and knowledge with people, we need to have just as good as the propaganda CNN and NBC and all these people can talk, easily without any freezing. We need to be able to have that same type of technology or quality. Hence, that's why that progression. Yeah, you can have a basic 5 megabits, 10 megabits, whatever connection. Okay, just upload it and leave it for the half hour, an hour or two to upload. But when you're doing this stuff back and forth, you get what you pay for,
That's
kind of
right.
thing, unfortunately. So that's another level.
That's so
then,
so important that you mentioned the difference between doing a video operation that requires a lot of editing in post-production. That's generally called post-production in video, which means that you're going to record your material, but then you're going to go back and take it into a non-linear editing software program and take out some snippets that you don't want in there. This type of a production has no post-production. It's a what you see is what you get operation, meaning if there's some type of a problem or glitch, we just power through it and work through it, and there's no editing. So the show is what we make it, live in real time. I like that because it gives you a more, to me anyway, it gives a more personal flavor to your work, where somebody is just seeing how you communicate and operate in real time. And you have to simply roll with the punches, okay? So I find that more dynamic. I find that more real, right? People get a genuine sense, more so, I believe, of your personality and the way that you go about doing things in real life. Plus, the nice part about it is, once the show is recorded, that's the show. There is no post-production, unless there's really a bad technical problem or noise or anything. And folks, I just want to let you know, as a brief aside, you might hear a little bit of extra noise in the background. I'm sorry, I can't avoid that. I don't have a soundproof studio. I'm operating in my house. Maybe we can do something different if my living circumstances improve in the next year or so. But I'm running, obviously, an air conditioner in my room. It was 96 here in Philly yesterday. It was like 93 or 94 here today. So, that's pretty sweltering in the type of humid conditions in Philadelphia. I have to run an air conditioner even while I'm on, or I'd be sweating half to death in here. Ivan takes the heat like a champ. He's like, "Oh, you're complaining." He's like, "It was 104 when I left Phoenix." I'm like, "Jesus God," but different dry heat as opposed to humid. We were talking about that. But anyway, going back to the topic here, absolutely.
Pre-recorded and alive.
Yeah, the post-production work, if you could pull that out of your workflow, you're saving yourself so much time. It's really, you make up for that when you turn your production into a live stream by your labor. See, your labor is a resource, right? It's not just money. It's not just tangible physical things. It's your effort. It's your work and what you're putting into it through your own bodily and mental energy. So if once you're done your material and your discussion and, taking calls or whatever, then the show is what it is. It's locked in. You have a recording of it, which I'm making here on the computer I'm seated at while we're streaming, okay? And then I take that and I upload it, and that's it. Then there's no post-production work. It saves a lot of resources in the form of energy and work, right? And we have to look at those as resources too. Your time is a resource. It's not just money. Your time and your energy are resources. If you can streamline that in your production workflow, then you've spent your resources wisely in the setup of doing that. Okay, that's why I wanted to move to a video show that had no editing. There wasn't a pre-edited podcast that was live, and there was no post-production work to be done. That once I recorded that in live time, That's the show. So very, very great points that you bring up right out of the chute here, Ivan. And it's definitely a lot of things for people to mentally chew on when they're going to decide how are they going to attack this work? How are they going to get involved? And what is their whole production workflow going to be like? So thank you for bringing that up, and go ahead and continue in whatever topic you want to go to next.
Yeah, continuing on all that, props and shout out to James Cordner. He does a show called Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth, and he kind of passed me on the fast track because I still do the post-production stuff for now. He, on Odyssey, does Saturday night live streams, and he just started about a year ago. So he got his stuff down, learned what he needed to learn, and had his information and knowledge and stuff. And look, he's live streaming. He has his guest on and does stuff on Saturday nights. So that's someone who didn't take years and years of, like me, learning and editing and packaging it and then putting it out. This guy passed that and just went straight to live streaming. So again, those are the different options. Some people could just stay pre-recorded,
sure.
Okay, fine, and some people goes to the live stream.
And
so that's
again,
an example right there.
We're not even judging it, right? Anybody can do it in whatever way they choose to, and it's perfectly acceptable. The content is what is important, obviously. One of the things that I am going to explain to people in the How to Become the True Media seminar is these different methods. That you're obviously free to choose whatever method works for you, works best, that you're comfortable with, and then show them the techniques that would be used to do that. And one of the things that I have to bring up, I'm going to reemphasize it over and over again whenever I get the chance to talk about technology, because it was one of the things that was the most mind-exploding technologies for me. Right? In doing this type of work, when I learned about NDI, Network Device Interface, created by Newtek, the makers of the 3D software called Lightwave 3D, that's what they were mostly known for as a company. Now they're actually becoming known more for NDI than even their heavyweight software in the 3D space that they were once, king of that mountain. But once NDI came out years ago and I started learning about it and understanding what its capabilities were, my mind just completely shifted when it came to video workflow and the understanding of how a video workflow could work over a small home network such as I run here. And if people understand what the technology that's being put into their hands for free via NDI can do, if they look into it and they read about it and they really understand it, don't just try to look at it, oh, that technology can do this. Really understand how it can affect a workflow. You are, if you fully actually truly understand and appreciate it, you're going to realize that this is practical alchemical gold in the great work. Literally, it is something that has completely changed the way that I do things, and I'm going to emphasize it in the How to Become the True Media seminar as well, because I really want more people to understand it. From teaching it to the small amount of people that I have, a small percent of them have actually adopted it and used it, and when they use it, they say, now I understand what you're talking about and why you tried to emphasize that so much, because it's a game changer. And I just want to say that. Look it up. There's a little guide, if you can find it online. It's called the Unofficial Guide to NDI. I highly recommend reading that book. You could look at it as a book or a pamphlet, whatever, but it's a PDF document that is out there. Just type in the Unofficial Guide to All Things NDI. I believe that's the full name. The Unofficial Guide to All Things NDI. If you read that, it will give you a full understanding of what this technology is and how you yourself, if you're looking to become a content creator, can employ this in your workflow, of course, especially when it comes to video, but for audio also. So just wanted to add that in. Where do you want to take it next, Ivan?
All right, so yeah, with putting out all this content, we're talking already an area that's just it's like after something. Something else has to happen before that. All this stuff is about putting the information out there, creating the content. Now, what content are we putting out there?
That's right.
All this comes after you've taken all this information in.
That's right.
Learn about truth. Learn about, all the what is it? The logical fallacies. Learn about the occult. Learning everything. So there's work that needs to be done before you actually do work.
Of course.
So this is why look at what are we at? 2022, 2007 is when I started waking up to things. So this is already like 15 years later, and I'm out here first time on your show, in person, putting out, how we can create content. But look at all the time it took to get the knowledge, acquire the knowledge, figure things out, separate the false, information, the deception, and all the obfuscation material to what's truth, narrow it down to truth, and then be able to build on that and harness that, and then learn how to communicate that just through a, audio podcast, Guy Next Door Speaks, and then, coming on other people's shows, and then going on video. See, so it's a lot of things. It's not just, hey, just go out there and talk.
It's a personal journey. Yeah, it's a personal journey. And it could take years. I mean, I just look at mine. It wasn't overnight, right? I mean, I didn't really start to even reverse the satanic mindset that I was once in until probably around the year 2001, is when I really consider I was working on breaking that down. Now, I was slowly coming out of it more before then. But if you even just take 2001 as, okay, this is the year I'm hardcore beginning to at least break the former mind control and conditioning of my satanic mindset, when I was a priest in the Church of Satan. Until I actually went public with my material was 2007, and only in a small way, like just presentations. Then I didn't have a show until 2010, right? Even an audio podcast. So if you look at 2007 as the end date, or beginning date, I should say, of my actual public work, from the year that I consider I was really coming out of my conditioning, that's 6 whole years. If you look at 2010 as the beginning date of starting to do public work, that's 9 years, okay? So it's not an instantaneous process, folks. But what I would like to be here for people who are ready to begin doing their public work is, I'd like to show you how to do the technological stuff. I'm very good at that. That's my background. It's part of my background. I share in the first class of how to become the true media all of the jobs that I kind of had in the past. Obviously not, stupid jobs. I've had those too. I've been a busboy at some point. I worked in a textile factory, believe it or not. I packaged classical music CDs in a classical music warehouse. I had jobs like this, okay? I did things like this in the past. Did what you had to do to make resources, right? We could talk about how doing regular, normal, quote, everyday jobs can hamper doing the great work if enough resources aren't coming in to split your time, okay? Or possibly do this full time if you can make enough resources. Now, but those aren't the kind of jobs I tell people about in the seminar. I tell people about all the technical jobs that I ever had, pretty much in my whole technical career, to show them how I acquired the knowledge that I have now to teach this seminar. So that's part of it. In the introductory part of the seminar, I go through, my actual professional background in the tech world. So just wanted to bring that up, and wherever else you want to take it, go right ahead.
Right. So we were talking about putting the content out there, but what content? The other part of the work is learning. And here, this is where now my real reason to coming here or doing this with you was because that time, the energy, what's being done, and the quote unquote reward or the labor or how society works, how things have been manipulated, that everything you're doing here, there's all this setup and what you have going on in the room that you're at. Because I was looking, I was confused. I didn't know how we were going to pull this off, but then seeing your laptop, we do the Discord over here with this computer. It's being sent right back to that computer, and then that's broadcasting to the. It's like, wow, that's pretty badass.
That's
Who paid you for
NDI.
that, Mark?
NDI makes that possible.
Paid you?
And-
Who paid you for that, Mark? See, that's the question. Who paid you? All this work.
Open
and,
source
you know,
software.
yeah.
Well, actually, NDI isn't fully open source. There's a free component, but then the technology actually underneath is actually proprietary. There's open source variants and libraries of NDI in the open source community, but technically it's not fully open source. But yeah, I mean, imagine, man.
Are they sponsoring you? Are they your sponsors? Do we
They
have
are
your
not.
logo somewhere sponsored by,
I'm not getting any kickback by mentioning them. But like you joked about earlier, I mean, the CIA is just, they're really, really treating me well in this half row home in the middle of crowded South Philadelphia, in rooms that are almost as large as a couple of closets, you know, to a point where, you know, we have to move chairs out of the way just to pass each other. You know, it's that tight quarters, you know. So you make do with what you have. It's one of the things that you have to learn about resources is look at what you can do, not being showered with goods and resources, right? Okay, I'm comfortable and I have what I need. That's important, right? Look, if people don't have the actual survival things that they require, nobody's going to be thinking about doing this type of work. This is a given, right? We have to start from there, right? You need enough resources to comfortably live where you're at, to pay your bills as far as electricity, water, gas, etc., right? If you have a mortgage, to pay that. If you have a rent, to pay that, etc., right? These are going to hamper this operation right off the bat. If you don't have enough resources just to take care of that stuff, you're not going to be thinking about, let's get computers so we can, you know, talk to people about objective morality, right? You know, on the hierarchy of needs, those needs have to be met, because then you're going to be struggling for survival. So it's a given and understood. We're talking about people who are at least bringing in enough resources that they can meet those basic survival needs. And from there, in addition to that, then slowly build up some equipment. And it doesn't have to be done overnight. You know, this should be emphasized. You don't need to do this overnight. This could take a years-long process. I didn't get all of this equipment overnight. I bought these things like one at a time, you know, when I could afford to do it. Some other people generously, unbelievably generously, and they don't want to take credit for it. They don't want their name mentioned, you know, donated equipment to me. And I mean fairly expensive equipment, stuff that most people, you know, it's not a joke, the dollar figure on it, you know. So, you know, people, because they believe in my work, did that, and, you know, saw that I was, you know, staying with it and just kept pressing on. I take a hiatus here and there when I need it for my health, but then I come back and I press on and I don't stop, and you keep moving forward. People will recognize that when you do the great work. They'll help you. They'll contribute to you, you know, and it might not be immediate. You can't give up. You can't go, no one supports what I do, and just give up. Now, I know there are people who struggle with that and have been dealing with the procurement of resources. Tell our viewing audience how things went with your progression of your public work, okay? And I want to know, like, did people come forward? Did they help contribute? Did they donate? Did they help you to go to the next level with it? You know, I'd like to hear a little bit about that story, because a lot of people will struggle with trying to move their operation to the next level, and even just procuring enough that they have their basic needs met, and then they could start, you know, acquiring some equipment over time to do this work. So give them your take on that.
All right, well, here's probably where a bunch of people might start calling me an idiot. Like, oh, he's an idiot. He's a freaking idiot. He didn't do it right or whatever. It's like, you know what? I have a job. I have a steady job. I have a good job. Do, work for the post office. All right. Now, here's where in the last several years, especially during the whole scamdemic crap,
Right.
where, time is very important. All right. And when we look at work and money, the labor, we have what's natural, and then what I always refer to as artificial.
Sure.
It's the artificial stuff, but everybody really is on the artificial thing, that you need to have this man-made job, work there hours, give you 40 hours a week or overtime and all that to get this proxy, get this money in order to be able to provide your food, clothing, and shelter, and then the other thing you need to do. Whereas doing this great work is like, for the conference, yes, some people, they either contributed a little bit or bought tickets. Mainly, I worked the overtime to pay for that conference. As far as getting money for whatever stuff I put out, I don't think I received anything until you created the One Great Work Network. I put my profile up there, and you had me activate the donate thing. That's the only time maybe I had a couple of donations come in. That's it. To be honest, that's it. If I was depending on the One Great Work Network or One Great Work to do stuff,
Right.
Yeah, that's not providing anything. So that was all through my labor. And that's where people, well, you're not doing it right. You're an idiot. What do you expect? It's like, well, when you step back and look at, the goodness of life and humanity and how we're all one and God and we're connected to the universe, all this having to work for a paycheck and do mindless kind of bullshit just to take up time and keep us busy, because again, people need to
That's
break
right.
down those words. I learned from you the language of the birds. Business is busyness. That's all
right.
it is, to keep you busy on the rat race, on the hamster wheel, doing all that stuff to be able to feed, clothe, and shelter yourself. Whereas what we're doing, how many people are throwing money on us like strippers?
Right.
Like, here's a 50,
Right.
here's 100. Yeah, you're doing a great job. Yes, you may have some people that for you, Mark, that have stepped up, and that's fine. But people like me, I'm not as well known or out there as you. Let alone, and we could talk on that, because walking through the streets, I asked you, how many people have you seen, with your shirt on, let alone recognize you? And nobody to this day.
I could walk through this city continually 24/7 and never be recognized. So that tells you even how popular my work is, which is really not much at all. And that's just it. People are very ensconced in the illusory. Moral education, which is very real, very important, very vitally connected to human freedom. It's everything when it comes to human freedom, isn't even really valued. People would rather watch people throw a ball and hit it with a stick, or, tackle each other, or, kick a ball, or, smash a puck, or throw a ball through a hoop,
And give them millions.
That tells you everything that we need to know about where the human value system is really at, in people's minds and in people's hearts. And it's sad. It's a sad social commentary. It's a sad social state of affairs, but unfortunately that's the way that it is. And what I don't want that to discourage potential content creators. I find it hurts my heart that is the level of support that content creators have received. I wanted One Great Work Network to highlight other people's work other than mine, so that they could get more support and continue to grow their operations. And that's what I want to see it become. Okay, that's important. People have to understand how important that is. And it's not like we're not sitting here begging for money. We're sitting here trying to explain to people how important the procurement of resources for people to do the One Great Work is. And that doesn't happen for free, right? The One Great Work doesn't say anything about resources being free. Does it say your internet connection's free? It's the One Great Work. It doesn't say free internet connections. It doesn't say free computers to be handed out, right? All of that still costs the normal rates that these goods and services go for in an illusory money-based economy. Okay? Regardless of what anybody wants to talk about as money, right? It's still a constructural idea that has the value that people hold in their mind to exchange something that they have that somebody else wants, or vice versa, something they need that somebody else has. And when they don't meet up, they use money as the exchange medium. That's all well and very well understood. But what we're talking about here is people having to take the bulk of their time just to meet the survival needs. And that keeps them so busy with the survival aspect of it, they never make the time, or can make the time, without a tremendous amount of personal sacrifice that possibly puts them deeper in survival mode, to do this work, to reach out to other people, and to do the actual moral education that is required of all of us. And that is why having people who are the very forebearers of this information, I guess you could say, they're the ones who are at the tip of the spear. If they get the help and the resources and the support that they need, right, they could pave the way for other people to break into that field of endeavor, right? That's why people who are actively doing this now, it's so critical to support their efforts, especially if you're not doing it. If you're not doing the one great work, and by that I mean out there publicly, online, talking about objective morality, natural law, the state of human freedom, consequences, free will behavior in connection with consequences, how we create the reality we're experiencing, how it's all about causality, the underlying causal factors. These are the important grassroots educational efforts we need to get out there. If you're not actively doing that education yourself, right, then I feel that the least people who are not doing that themselves could do is contribute resource-wise, whether it be in the form of some form of money, some form of physical resources, or even labor, time, labor, support like that. I do have a couple of people who do come over here and support me through their voluntary labor, where they'll help me archive data, they'll help me organize things, they'll help me make physical items, etc. And that's unbelievably appreciated, because without that, I'd have to work harder at all of those tasks and physical tasks. And I wouldn't have as much time for, organization of the ideas that I want to cover and flesh out, and presentations that I need to make, etc. So that being said, people not only should support content creators directly with their resources if they're not doing the one great work themselves, but they should start to looking at allotting resources for themselves doing the work. Both of those things are important. Obviously, you need resources for your own survival needs, and then to put equipment in place for you to do the work if you're going to do it. But barring that, if you're not going to start there first, the least people can do is support content creators who are already doing this. They're out in front of everybody else and already there putting that work out to the public. So I think that's important to recognize.
Yeah, some of the stuff you said there, you brought up things I forgot to cover. Well, consequence. Part of what really triggered me, I guess you can say, over this last year or so was having to keep going to work when I didn't want to go to work. With the whole COVID crap and wear the mask and the social distance, and knowing that was so much BS, but still having to go there, I didn't go as much. And so my income came down, and now I start struggling to pay the bills. That's the reality. That's the consequence. Right. And what I call artificial consequences.
That's right.
There's consequences based in nature. They are natural consequences. You don't eat, you get sick, you die and stuff like that. You're exposed to the elements more than you should, too much cold, too much heat. That has an effect. Consequences. Now, all this is artificial, man-made consequences that people think and justify, saying, this is what I meant by people saying, well, you're an idiot. Well, why? Because I got to really, really submit and well, I guess I got to be a good employee, good slave, wage slave, and go and make my money because I know this is the way it's supposed to be. It's like, this is all made up. This is us enslaving ourselves to, go and work, do the job to get the money. Okay,
and
granted,
those jobs
that's
are
the society. That's how we live now. But again, this takes it back to, look, I was happy doing the podcast. I get with Francesco. We do some shows, the movie music shows, the truth conscious music shows, the stuff with Joe Murray. I'm not getting paid for that.
Sure.
So the time I was allocating to that and enjoying myself and doing what's necessary, I wasn't at work. I wasn't making the proxy. I wasn't making the money. And the consequence was now, my rent might be behind or the car payment's kind of behind. It's like, well, shit, I guess I got to submit and go to it. Well, again, people will say, well, you don't know how to manage your time. Well, now we're creating more layers. Not only learn the information, put the time to put it out there, and now, now I got to juggle and actually do this fake artificial bullshit because everybody else is like, well, no, what do you expect? To live for free? It's like, well, in a perfect world, yeah, we should be kind of like, hey, this, but again, that's looking at things holistically and realizing, god damn, we're stuck with 99% of people that believe the nonsense that we need to be good wage slaves in order to, and that's the part that was almost triggering me to
they're stuck they're stuck in a mental construct that is not truly really based in higher consciousness. That's why I don't fully support anarcho-capitalism. That doesn't make me an anarcho-communist. That doesn't make me anything except someone telling people that without higher consciousness, don't expect the world to change for the better. And people don't even really understand what that means. It means you have to look at what is real in nature. That's part of it. It's part of what begins opening up to higher consciousness, rather than artificial constructs that come from ideas that exist in the mind, of which money is one. And it's never going to go back to anything else other than that. I'm not going to be changing my mind and seeing money the way the ANCAPs do. And again, that doesn't mean lump me in with dumb leftists either.
Just go crypto, Mark. Just go crypto. Crypto is the way. That's the answer.
Well, I think crypto is one of the transitional points to get it away from the very tightly controlled fiat currency of the Federal Reserve and other central banks. However, the problem with fiat is that the market manipulation that comes into play, because we've, instead of turning it into an actual currency, a unit of of exchange, people have turned it into a speculative market that is very easily manipulated by big players and the exchanges. And all they're doing is, playing the game of forcing the price up so that they can dump it later, and or vice versa, trying to get the price to go down so they could buy it and then pump it back up. It's a terrible scenario in the whole crypto community, and that's why I think that technological improvements should be made that create some layer of protection against that type of speculative market manipulation. But there is not even hardly anybody talking about that, let alone doing it. Certainly not, the core Bitcoin coding team or whoever they are. It's in general a very bad situation that creates a lot of fear, uncertainty, doubt in the whole crypto ecosystem. People who might go into it to improve it and help make it more stable. It's unfortunately in the short term at least not working out that way, and it's very, very, very volatile, and people have lost a lot of money unfortunately dealing with it. I think it could stabilize.
I'm not surprised, Mark.
I think it could personally stabilize. I think it could be used as something that gets us away from the Federal Reserve System and government-controlled fiat currency. A lot of people say crypto versus fiat. They don't understand crypto is fiat currency. Let's, first of all, if we're going to just briefly, go off on a tangent about crypto, let's get that right? Fiat means let it exist. That's how Bitcoin exists, because we say let it exist, and we'll agree that it can act as an exchange and or a store of value, right? That's an agreement. That's a construct. It's not in nature, right? Bitcoin doesn't exist in the realm of nature. It's a technology, okay?
I have the word artificial again in my mind. Artificial, from one artificiality to another,
right?
Because we're in virtual reality.
Sure.
This all takes place in the virtual realm.
That doesn't mean we can't utilize that as a tool. That's what technology is. It can be a virtualized technology or a tool in the digital space. It could be a real technology, such as a pair of eyeglasses. This is technology. There's lenses made of glass. This is a metal frame, etc. Okay? There's absolutely different forms of technology. And, I think technology is a good thing. I think it helps improve life. This is how we communicate our ideas, through this technology. But at the same time, we have to make the distinction. Is this something that exists in the real world of nature, or is it a constructural idea? Obviously, crypto is a constructural idea existing through software. That's basically what cryptocurrency is software. And it has the value that we ascribe to it by what we believe, right? And this is the same thing when it comes to jobs, work, making money for someone else. This is all just agreed upon, that if I give my time, I'll get this much in the form of the mechanism that we use for exchange, and people can't see past that. They're rigidly attached to that idea. And that's what I see as
I think
lower consciousness.
Addiction and dependence is something that I'm kind of hearing right here.
Of course.
Is that society, we become addicted and dependent on that. Yeah, tools are fine, but now if that tool becomes, I need this every day, it's like a crackhead.
What else has to be?
Once in a while, but now everything has to be. You become dependent on that. You become
you're hooked.
Become an addiction.
You're hooked.
You're hooked, and you're detached from reality, detached from nature, and now the artificial becomes the norm.
That's right.
And that's the problem. That's part of the. I think a basic way of describing what I'm trying to point out.
Yes.
Is that speaking with people and communicating truth and knowledge and ideas and pointing out what is and how it is.
That's real.
It's very unacceptable. Right. They don't want to accept that because it takes away from the dependence, the addiction to the falsity, to the artificial. And that's the part. It's like, it's like, well, maybe we can have both. It's like you're playing with fire, because people are easily going to go to the artificial and to that dependency, when it's like, no, actually, you're responsible for yourself, and this is natural, and this we need to detach from that. Oh, no, but we still need, you're becoming addicted to it. And that's what I see. That's how I think it is.
When they keep giving those excuses and just can't see that humanity can break out of that condition. It's possible, okay?
Yes.
It's maybe not likely, but it is doable with enough change of the way we think, which is what we're trying to create. What is the factor that people are so rigidly attached to? Or I should say, what is the factor of what has been destroyed in people who can't see that possibility? I would say that factor is the human imagination. That we can't imagine a world that operates a different way. We can't imagine interaction, voluntary interaction between very real physical human beings in the very real physical realm of nature that operates without this construct. And that is because consciousness isn't high enough to operate, unfortunately, without that construct being in place. Otherwise, people act in a degenerated way like animals. And until we change that consciousness based upon moral interaction, we're never going to be able to solve that problem, because the solution to a society that lives without those artificial constructs means that you have to solve it from a higher level of consciousness than what you're currently seeing the problem at. You will never get to the solution that lies up here in consciousness if you're operating still at the same thought forms and thought processes that are at where the existing state of consciousness is at. It's impossible. This is Occult Principles 101. This is the law of mentalism 101, laws of consciousness and natural law 101. You have to think about it from outside the realm of construct and effects. And you have to go into the causal realm to understand consciousness can solve this problem from a much, much, much deeper layer, a much deeper level, a deeper perspective. But unfortunately, most human beings haven't developed that level of consciousness, and that's the problem. And part of what's missing, part of what the media knocks out of people, the schooling system, so-called laughable, calling it education, knocks out of people at a very young age. And even their parents, their friends, their teachers, their family members, knocks it out of them when they're children, is the imagination to be able to visualize that this way we have been doing things is not necessary. That's why people can't understand government isn't necessary. They're in mind control, which is what the word government means. And their imagination is so degraded because the big sledgehammer of the media and government and schooling has been cracking them over the head repeatedly, telling them this is permanent. This can't not exist. Society would break down and degenerate into animal behavior if it didn't exist, etc., so forth. And that may be true from such a limited perspective, from a perspective of saying society might break down into brutality and chaos if we dissolve this with no elevation of consciousness whatsoever instantaneously. Yeah, then people might be at each other's throats. I get that. I've always gotten that. And guess what? It would still be better than what we have. Okay? Because nobody would believe anybody has the right to do violent things. They would just say they're just violent people doing violent things. And they don't have that right. And we could stop them. We have the situation now where everybody in the world practically believes that violent thugs can conduct violent behaviors and they have the right to do it just because they have a badge and call themselves a member of government or an agent of government. You know? So the important part of this aspect of the discussion, folks, is detaching from the artificial. At least understand that it's a constructural idea in the mind. Even if you're at the level of consciousness where you believe we have to have this mechanism of exchange, I get those thoughts. I get why people think those things. But the imagination is what's being blotted out into not understanding if humanity elevates its consciousness, it does not need these artificial constructs anymore, because it would be at a level where we truly do not only recognize the truth of the fact that we are actually one consciousness, ultimately experiencing a subjective 3D construct, so we learn and understand more about our actual, source makeup, which is consciousness and mind itself. But we would be able to recognize each other as one living dynamic family and not create these strifes, not create these artificial competitiveness, not create this strata of have and have not, of rich and poor. Anybody who thinks that those things are necessary and need to go on indefinitely, it's the same argument that there can't be good without evil. Total and utter bullshit. You're lying to yourself, which is part of what should never be done in studying the occult information and studying the real laws of nature and analyzing yourself and trying to change yourself to a higher level of consciousness. If you take it from the approach where you lie to yourself and you tell yourself, we have to have these constructs, we have to have government, we have to have evil. We don't need to do or have any of those things. Not necessary. And you know, the only reason that they're necessary is because people haven't recognized that they're not necessary. It's that simple. That may sound like circular logic, but it's not. Evil is only necessary until people realize evil is not necessary. Artificial constructs of exchange are not necessary until people realize they're not truly necessary. But consciousness has to develop for that not to exist, for us to do away with that. And that's the problem. We're still trying to solve things. We're trying to create new technologies, but we're not elevating consciousness. We're just trying to put new constructural ideas into place, like cryptocurrency. And then what happens? We treat it with the same level of consciousness that we treated fiat currency. We create the new central banks. Those are the exchanges. We create the new manipulators. Those are the big whales and the big, speculators in the whole crypto world. If people don't understand, that's just coming from trying to create a new tool, a new technology, and use it at the same level of consciousness that humanity is already at, without elevating consciousness with the new tool. That's what has to happen, and that's not happening. And that's why I say crypto could be used, to go around full circle, as a new way of defeating the very controlled and corrupt government central bank rigged monetary system, and make something that is somewhat freer than that. Certainly, I would say much freer than that. Not perfect in any way, but a better option of a form of fiat construct than banker and central, bank and government controlled fiat version of money. So that's my take on the whole crypto ecosystem. But this goes hand in hand, Ivan, with something that I know you felt very important to bring up, which is what really money as a mechanism of exchange is in our society. All the quote fake work, the busy work, as you talked about. People have called that slavery jobs. There to just distract you and keep you on the hamster wheel, keep you just dependent for whatever chump change you're thrown as a wage for survival. And again, I'm not totally attacking the idea of let's make an agreement. This work is performed. You get this in return. I don't have any problem with that type of voluntary interaction. But what we're talking about is things that ultimately in the long term don't really serve anything regarding humanity. And people just do them. It's a soul-sucking thing. They don't want to be there. They don't want to, it's not something that they feel strongly about, that it's important or vital to do. And they just want the exchange of the proxy, to receive the proxy. So you refer to this in your work as proxyism. Tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, proxyism, like any other religion. It's a belief, it's an ism. So proxy, that this takes the place of this, so in order to have food, clothing, and shelter, you need this thing instead of just getting food, clothing, and shelter. And we're all, programmed to believe that, that there's a certain thing that takes its place, to do what's right. Well, I'm not doing what's right. Who's going to pay me for it? Who's going to pay for
That's
it?
it.
Even the villains, the bad guys, the henchmen, the masu, they don't do it just because they choose to do it and like, oh, keep your money, I'll do it. No, go and bash that guy's head in because he's not obeying. Well, how much are you going to pay me? Well, here's $100,000. Well, shit, okay. See, because the proxyism, doing what's wrong, they won't do it just offhand, but who's paying? And then the survival part, if you don't have money, if you're homeless on the street and a drug addict, whatever, like, yo, grab that, rob that old lady's purse or whatever, here's $50. Like, shit, okay, so again, that proxyism is the fuel for doing things, whether wrong or right, good or bad. It's the motivation. Instead of just, knowing right from wrong and doing what's right.
Correct.
We're paying people. It's always constantly paying. I want to go back to something you were talking about. You were kind of at the college level talking about consciousness, and I get that. I comprehend that. And that is, there's truth there. But again, sometimes we need to not necessarily dumb it down, but bring it down to a layman's thing. And instead of consciousness, I'm always thinking about awareness.
Right.
It's being aware. That is what consciousness is.
Sure.
But yet, awareness, because if we're just aware like this, tunnel vision, we need to be aware of everything else. And what's the awareness that I kind of want to focus on? Awareness, like you were talking about when you were talking about consciousness, is what's possible. You got to be aware of what's possible. But what limits that is the fear. So whether it starts down here, fear, awareness, and what's possible, or top to bottom, we're being fed fear because then that limits our awareness. Like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to risk being homeless. I don't want to risk, getting evicted or having my car repoed or,
That's right.
whatever, not being able to have food, clothing, and shelter. So yet my awareness shrinks down.
And then you don't
to
see the
where
possibilities.
This is the only thing that's possible.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just keep working. You're born, death, and taxes. That's the only thing. Like, no, that's bullshit. That's a construct. That's a limited awareness.
It's a religion.
Expand your awareness.
That's religion.
It's another ism.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's part of the problem. That's what I want to bring to the table here is people's awareness of what's possible, and not because of, well, is there money in it? And that's what 99% of the people will say.
That's
it's like, well, how much does it pay? How much does it pay? Boom.
That's
There's
right.
the awareness locking down based on fear, and nothing changes and nothing gets done.
That's
You said it many
the
years
critical
ago.
dynamic. Yes.
Money is the resistance in the system.
That's right.
That's it. The system's that's it. It's there to keep shit in place.
That's right.
And we're trying to change that awareness, expand that awareness, to be like, wait, there's limitless ways of doing things. It doesn't have to just be via proxy,
let me tell
money, be it crypto, be it yeah.
Let me tell you the factor that is going to affect and determine more than any other factor the opening up of those possibilities that you're talking about. Simply doing a behavior because you know it to be right. Period. The end. That's it.
Yep.
Now, think about the power in that statement. And think about what Ivan just said. They are putting fear into people's mindset, their consciousness, if you will, to keep it in a low vibration. That gets them to limit their vision or awareness of what they're able to perceive and understand what it means, what's being done to them. And finally, what that does is that cuts them off from possibility. And what is possibility? That's freedom. Freedom is the possibility to do what are your rights, to exercise freely your rights without constraint. And most people don't exercise those rights because they're in that consciousness of fear. They're being told you can't do that. They're being told you have to do this, etc., so forth. That is the fear-based consciousness that most people on this planet are dwelling in. Whenever I ask people, why aren't you currently doing the one great work? They come back with a million different answers, and every single one of them are fear-based. Every single one of them are not based in consciousness and awareness or agape love. They're based in fear. If they were based in that form of agape love, then they would come back and say, the only thing I truly need to understand is that this is the right thing to do. Everything else is meaningless. And most people aren't at that level of consciousness. And again, they would say, I will make the sacrifice to do it even in the smallest way. Even if you could only record some audio into your phone, upload it. That's it. And almost everybody has that capability. Almost every single person in the entire Western civilization, at least, that isn't living in third world living conditions, has that possibility. And again, possibility is what this is ultimately about. The getting rid of those constructs that limit your imagination so that you can't see the possibility, that is what degrades mind control. That is what breaks up mind control. It just shatters it. It shatters those illusory and constructural forms of thought that the social engineers have programmed. People aren't thinking those thoughts on their own. They're programmed into them by the social engineer, dark occult priest class. So, very, very powerful idea. And that breaks down the religion of proxyism. I like the idea of, getting rid of the proxy, go to the real thing, right?
Source.
That's it.
The thing, yeah.
Inherent
The all.
value,
Yeah.
morality, human beings, consciousness, awareness, possibility, true love, agape love, and, then building true, real things in the very real 3D world to interoperate with each other on a voluntary basis. It's not. We make it more difficult than it is. That's another thing we were talking about pre-show, Ivan, how many things people overcomplicate. Overcomplexification makes people not see truth. It's part of the idea of obfuscation. You can obfuscate by trying to explain things to people so overly complexified that it doesn't need to be that difficult. It doesn't need to be that complex. The truth is simple. It's elegant. We don't need to visualize it so complex. It's a change in mind that is a choice in the moment. And this is a big part of present moment awareness, which, I want to get into at some point on a future show. But let me shift gears in a little bit and get your response to this, because we have about 20 minutes before going to calls. I want to bring up the concept. I love your idea of, the idea of proxyism and how to get out of that through more awareness and understanding this is socially engineered. It's a constructural idea. We don't really need it. We need the imagination to see we can live a different way. It is possible. It may be a little bit challenging to change, but it is possible to do and bring that different manifestation about. It has to first be born in our imagination, and then we can develop it in the very real world of 3D manifestation. But
that should be
yes,
the real new normal. That should be the real new normal.
that should be Build Back Better. Exactly. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let me shift gears to this. I see a lot of people in the freedom community not only not doing that, but what I call playing to lose. They are hooked on, addicted to, totally locked into the mindset of, we've already lost. The bad guys have already won. The Satanists have already won. Regardless of what their level of understanding of who's really running the show, they look at it like, all I really need to be doing with my time is preparing for the inevitable collapse of human civilization, and then working on just trying to survive that. And don't get me wrong, don't take what I'm saying out of context. Anyone listening to what I'm saying, understand what I'm really saying. I'm not saying you don't look at what the possibilities may be. You don't say, I'm going to put some of my eggs in that survival basket. You don't make some preparations with food, water, things like that, weaponry, okay? You do all of those things, okay? And that's why resources are so important, because you should do those things. It's very important. But that's different. It's different. It becomes something, an altogether different animal, when all you're doing are those survival things and looking at the inevitable collapse, and it's definitely going to go south. It's definitely going to go to a hot conflict. It's definitely going to go to a collapse of all of civilization. I call that mindset playing to lose. Those are people who are, they're seeing it as a foregone conclusion. And what does that do? It does exactly what you said. Shuts their awareness down. And that's all they can see. Then they have tunnel vision, and they're looking into it, and all they can see is, oh, the collapse is coming. The collapse is coming. And what is that? Attitude. It's a mindset of fear. Locks their consciousness into fear vibration, right? Not saying don't prepare for something that could be uncomfortable or even disastrous. However, when you make that your only game, when you make that your only option, that's your only basket, right? Now, I'm saying make that your mini basket on the side. Put 10%, 15% of your energy into that. Put 85 to 90% of your energy in playing to win, right? I'm not trying to play this game to lose it. I'm trying to play it to win it. That's why I want to avert that situation. The only way of averting it is doing the great work. More moral education, more understanding of objective morality, more understanding of natural law. So I want to get your take on, do you see this dynamic that I'm talking about? Am I imagining it? Is it something that I only see here? How is that elsewhere? Maybe in your neck of the woods in the Phoenix area, of the United States, in Arizona. Give me your take on what I'm calling that many, many, many people in the freedom community are playing to lose.
Yeah, I see it. I get it too. Yeah. it's that balance thing again. I was trying to visualizing all kinds of different allegories and stuff. It's like a boxing match. You know, you can either get your ass beat, and think you're gonna pull it off in the last round for knockout. You know, or you can be like, no, okay, you don't know when you're gonna win. You know, you can go ahead and attack the body the first, second round. Yeah, you're going to get hit. In the mid rounds, you attack some more. And maybe by surprise, come the 8th or 9th round, you land that lucky shot.
Right.
And guess what? You ended up winning instead of, oh, I'm going to lose everything. And then at the end, that's when I'm going to get the win. It's kind of like that. Like, well, let everything collapse. We're all, all the vaccine shots and tracking and everything's going to come in. But at least I'm going to be off grid and grow my own food and have solar panels. And that's it. It's like, well, wait. Yeah, that's good to again have that awareness of that being a possibility, but before it gets to that, maybe doing some great work might end up providing that 8th round knockout where it's like, hey, look, we reached a critical mass and the majority of the people know what's up, and it didn't happen. But yet you do have a place that you can go and live off grid and everything, and help people that are still in the system in the major metropolitan areas. That's something else you and I talked about, the centralization of everybody. They want everybody herded together, dependency on the system, on the money, on the stores, the corporations, and everybody's just there. And when you don't even think about being independent and free on your own, no, that doesn't exist. Just stay in the cities. That's another form of the control. But yeah, people, again, the fetus mentality that, oh, the Illuminati has everything's been planned, or let alone the biblical people. It's written that all this and the sign of the beast and everything that's happened has been foretold. And it's
all to subvert free will.
I think that might be already an instruction manual for these people, and you're just fueling that. Instead of saying like, wait, no, this doesn't have to happen.
It's a stand down.
Have to be that
it's a stand down operation in religion for that reason. Look, no, it's passivity. It's festering passivity. When religion gives that to people, or the New Age movement says, just be an observer, don't participate, don't get too involved, don't get too tied up in that. No, we need to exert our free will. All of those operations, like religion, the New Age movement, that's to subjugate your free will, to get it out of the way, to get you to stand down, not to get you to be active. See, that's the negative feminine, right? The negative feminine aspect, or the Lilith energy, if you will, or just the unholy feminine, as I call it, is don't exercise the sacred masculine. Don't do what's required. Don't teach people. Just back up. Back up. Be passive and back up. No conflict is ever won on the defensive. And I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't matter. You could be a total non-aggressionist. And I don't care what you say. If there's a physical conflict of any type, or even any non-physical conflict, it is never won by backing up. Cowards back up endlessly, nonstop. That's not going to solve this issue that we're in. That's not going to solve this situation. Any conflict that is worth winning, you have to press it. You have to go on the offense. You have to take the tactical advantage and press the situation. As Ivan was giving a great example in a boxing match, does a boxer win by backing up? Does an MMA artist win by backing up? An MMA fighter is not going to win in the cage by backing up. You have to press your attack. You have to show that you controlled the situation, at least, if there's not a knockout or a submission. The person who controlled the pace, who controlled the conflict, is going to get the award from the judges of the contest. Not the person who backed up, not the person who didn't press their attack. This is true of anything that results in conflict. You don't win by backing up. You win by going on the offense. And that's what we're talking about here. Don't play to lose. Play to win the situation. Even if we do end up losing, fight the whole way. Don't be half-ass and be somebody that just backs up. What courage? That's not showing any courage, So get out of this mindset of being wrongly femininely passive, right? That's the unholy feminine. That's not the sacred feminine. The sacred feminine says, I care so much, I'm going to activate the sacred masculine and do something. And not just to play to lose. Not just to back up and keep retreating. You know? And I know we have a different take on city life versus being outside the city. And I'm not saying that I don't agree with, you know, having lots of space and, you know, being able to grow your own food in a more rural way of existence. That's wonderful. And I think, you know, more people should develop that and move in, you know, outside of cities and spread out instead of being so concentrated in one area that we damage that part of the earth and choke it and, you know, destroy nature in that area. But I don't like the mindset that I see from a lot of the freedom community. Fuck the cities, let people fester in there, let it rot, let it decay, let moral decay take place there. Who gives a shit about anybody who lives there? Well, I live in a city, and a lot of other good people on the One Great Work Network live in a city. And the point is not to just abandon that. The point is to explain to people there, that's where the concentrated population is. This is where we got to do the work to get people to understand, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to just keep packing people endlessly into a city until you choke everything. And people feel choked and strangled. They feel like rats in a maze. You know, that's why there's such low consciousness in cities, especially this one. You know, talking about Philadelphia, one of the most corrupt cities in the world with the whole, you know, exposure of how the vote fraud took place. It's no surprise to me. I could have told you Philly was the worst city. I could have told you it was the worst, place in the whole country as far as leftists are concerned. I've seen this for over a decade, saw it encroaching before that. So, but the idea is, I don't feel that people who live in rural communities should say, just screw everybody in that area. They should just be left to rot, and it should just degrade infrastructurally and morally. That's not solving anything. That's not playing to win. That's playing to lose. Your take on that?
You've answered so much of this in previous episodes. I just told you with my schedule, I'm not completely current with all the shows since now I, got upgraded to like lead clerk. So on Sundays, I can't listen to your podcast. So I'm a few episodes behind. But everything I listened to before, we can go back to your first 10 or 15 episodes. You talked about, now I'm drawing a blank. See? The wonderful
and we were talking about playing to lose in cities, yes.
No, I get it. But the thing is about what the specific words I wanted to say here. Damn it. Well, holistic was one thing, and awareness about everything. But you mentioned before. God damn it! Now I'm trying to remember episodes way back in the day. But the thing was that it's the either or mentality. All right, and the abuse. That's the thing. So
dialectic was dialectic.
Yeah. That it's like people everybody needs to be in the cities and nobody in the outside the cities, or everybody needs to be outside the cities and nobody in the cities. It's like, no, it's a balance.
Right.
And this is where free will and anarchy and free choice come in. That no, those that want to be outside, yeah, you do your thing outside and you go live on your own and all that. That's fine. You want to stay in the city and close to people and group, you're free to do that. It's a balance. It's not an either or thing. Not that living in cities or in centralized places is bad or good, and not that going off grid is bad or good.
It's a choice.
Is what freedom is.
Right.
It's a choice, and it's a balance. Trying to stay away from the abuse.
That's right.
The abuse comes in when the rulers say no. All this greenery, forests, and open areas,
that's
sacred land. Yeah. We need to preserve it, so we need to force you into cities.
Right.
That's bad.
Right.
See, fuck them. But
and that's going to create more imbalance in the ecosystem, not less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And then everybody's saying, oh, we live out here. All you people in the city are bad. Like, no, there's a balance. And this is, again, what's bad. When everybody's in the city, everybody's centralized. Now you got like everybody's crawling on top of one another and all this tension and Satanism, me, fuck you, get out the way. See, that's not a wonderful, good environment.
And Ivan, it goes the exact opposite way. Yeah. It goes the opposite way. You see people in the city calling everybody who lives out in the country, oh, country bumpkin, oh, they're inbred, all of that. That's just equally as stupid nonsense and kind of, purely ignorant on the part of city-dwelling people. I never think about rural folk like that at all. I kind of admire them for their independence, their sustainability, their self-reliance, etc. I think I could live in either environment personally. I don't see myself going way out into the woods somewhere on my own choice, but I can see myself doing something more less urban and a little bit more suburban, etc., without a problem.
And it's the person's choice, the individual. They might prefer individuality, maybe just them, a husband and wife or a couple. They do their own thing, and they don't like being around a lot of people, and
Right.
that's their choice.
Sure.
That's how they survive. Other people, they need that. You need the interaction. I need to feel the life. I need the city. Okay, then that's your choice.
Right.
See, and so that's the balance of it. And along those same lines, and bringing in awareness again, something you were talking about earlier about people, it's like, oh, it's inevitable, playing to lose. Time is very key. Be in the now.
That's right.
Is important and good. However, awareness, the past matters. Experience, history, knowledge. How was it before? But we need to go back to the past. Technology is evil and all
Right.
this advancement. We need to, no.
Not being a
There's stuff to
Luddite.
learn from the past.
Right.
Yeah. But the present is also important. You have to be in the present, but you have to think about the future also. This is where a lot of that abuse happens. The people you're talking about, playing to lose, they're just thinking about the future. Oh, we got to worry about that. Well, what's happening now?
Right.
Is there good stuff happening now, bad stuff? Well, what are your actions, decisions, your thinking doing now in the present?
That's right.
Instead of just thinking about the future.
You have the ability to
awareness
teach
has
people.
to expand to cover it all,
Right.
the past, present, and the future. It all matters.
I agree so much. I mean, this is the kind of understanding of how events are spread out over time that we need. And again, it's not discounting present moment awareness, but it's not living in a future environment, in a future state in your head. It's understanding, here's what's possible to do now to create change. So when time does move forward and then it's the present moment in the distant future, maybe it'll be changed for the better instead of an apocalyptic nightmare, right? So this is where I think a lot of the so-called freedom community is not in true present moment awareness. They're in anxiety over the future, something so important that you brought up, because if you're always living in that mindset of what's going to happen 5-10 years from now, and it's going to be a bigger nightmare than we're even living now, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not actively doing something to change it. Look, I've told people, I think probably we're inexorably moving toward a second civil war in America. And that doesn't mean that I'm playing for that to happen. I've told people, if we don't change, that's the direction things are likely to go. And worse.
You're aware of that possibility.
Aware that could be a timeline. Am I playing for that one? Well, I have weapons. I have ammunition. I am making sure that should that timeline come because enough people don't change, I'm not going to just be a sitting duck. I'm not going to just lay down. Okay? At the same time, am I playing for that timeline to manifest? Is that what my energy is helping to manifest? Or is my energy saying, as I've been saying since day one, I'm trying to avert that potentiality. I don't want to see that play out. I want to play for a completely different outcome, which is why I put out all of my material regarding morality and natural law, so that people can help change themselves and therefore not manifest that dark and deadly outcome that I don't want to see. It's not that hard, right? It's just, you just got to logically think through, how are you thinking? What are you doing? Is this the optimum thing? What is the optimum outcome? The optimum outcome that you could visualize in your imagination, play for that outcome. And I'm not even saying you need to play 100% for that outcome. If everybody, instead of visualizing the negative and just playing for that outcome, right, and not doing anything in the present moment to try to change people morally, right? If we even gave 50% of our energy to the positive outcome, and try to morally educate people. Just I'm saying put 85 in there. That's my number. Put 15 in the survival. It's going to go to Civil War and collapse basket. You'd be nuts not to put anything in that basket, right? Not telling you not to do that. Don't put words in my mouth or Ivan's. We're telling you, yeah, that's important. But if you break down the energy percentage-wise, ratio-wise, that you're giving to the negative outcome versus what you're giving to morally educate human beings in the now, you're playing to lose if that number is way out of sync, and the eggs in the survival basket and in the collapse basket far outnumber the eggs in the let's teach people right now objective morality and natural law because we have the opportunity to do it. If you're not doing that, you're playing to lose, and that's a bad idea. It's a bad way to go about it. I'm not playing to lose. I will make people aware of the potential negative outcomes, and I'll tell you, hey, I'm definitely prepared should that come about, but that's not what that's not the manifestation I am trying to bring into existence, and that I'm, quote, playing for. Play to win. If you're gonna do this work, do it to win, and visualize the optimum outcome, and then make your actions about that positive outcome. That's not to say don't prepare for a potential negative outcome, but don't make that the main basis of all your energy. Would you say that that's a fair appraisal of that, a fair assessment or advice to people?
I concur. I concur. Tying in along those lines, the last few minutes here,
I know you have a very important topic that you want to get to, so we'll extend and cut into the calls a little bit, but this is really important for everyone to hear, so go ahead. Yes.
It ties in here with the awareness of past, present, and future, and what you were just talking about, doing the great work and our content creation and all that stuff. Is it just, well, I'm alive now, I pay the domain name for my website and the hosting, and so it's there now, and that's all that matters. That's all I care about. That's it. Mark, while you're alive, that's it. What on earth is happening is here and one great work. But when you die, oh well, don't worry about it. It will disappear in 5-10 years. See, this is us thinking about the future, our awareness. I don't think too many people think about that. The content we create and put out there, is this going to be around in the future,
right,
for our children, grandchildren, next generation? That's probably what the elites or the rulers or whatever count on, is that we're living in the present and we're putting this content out now, but then once we're gone, there goes our message, information, and now whatever other propaganda. That's part of the cancel culture. That's part of YouTube censorship.
That's right.
Is let them put that crap out now, whatever they can, because they're not going to be around forever. We need to be aware of that and think about in the future, is our word, is the truth that we're speaking still going to be accessible? So that's something I wanted to bring up is, yeah, content creation and the one great work is important, but what's its longevity? Are we planning, right now, ways to keep it around for well after
That's
we're
right.
gone?
And what that would entail is training other people to take over the technological workflow that you have established. To be quite honest, Ivan, I don't have that. I don't have it. If something happened to me tomorrow, something happened to me tomorrow, these operations would not continue. Unfortunately, it's just the reality. Maybe people could preserve the actual data that they could download, but as it exists now, no. The answer would be no, and that is because I would have to train people on the technology, explain how I did things, explain, what services and providers I use, how they would have to continue those accounts. And that a big important thing is leaving the operation to a person or another person or a group of people. And that would involve, setting up some type of a will, and again, it sucks that people would have to even go into any legal domain to do that, and not just say, "Hey, I want you to have it. I'm making a verbal commitment for you to take it, or I'll write it down so that other people can see I've given that to you." But a big part of what I'm dealing with now is not having the passing on of property done correctly through legal channels, unfortunately, which is, again, a disgrace that it even has to be thought of like that. But that's, something that I'm directly dealing with right now. I don't know how much different it would be, right now if something happened to me, which is something that I need to seriously consider and take into account, and perhaps do draw up, some type of legal agreement of who would be continuing that if I decide to turn that over to anyone. But again, they'd have to be competent in the technology so that it's not going to be made a mockery of, etc. So these are all things that people should consider when they're doing this type of work. It's very important to bring up. I don't think it's a morbid consideration. People never want to think about death. They never want to think about, passing on and what will happen after they're gone with important things like this. So give me some of your solutions to that. Do you have any things that you might consider as a solution to that, or how you would look at going about doing that?
I came to you for the answers, Mark. Now, you mentioned something about a trust, because as far as at least having like Free Your Mind AZ or What on Earth is Happening, like you mentioned in our conversation before, some kind of trust fund where the funds are there,
a private
like
trust, right?
Thing. Yeah, so that way, at least for the next decade or two, at least whatever bills need to be paid, it stays online.
Right.
But that can only go so far. And also, like you mentioned, you got to come across people that you can trust and are knowledgeable.
That's right.
One example that stands out to me that's in the negative, anyone who remembers maybe 10 years ago, David Icke, he created his network, The People's Voice. And
it was great for a little while. Okay. Oh, yeah.
It was right, until some other kind of person got in charge and took it another direction, and it went to shit. So again, see right there, that's a prime example of good intention, a lot of content creators, people doing the things, but leaving the wrong person in charge,
that's right,
giving the reins to somebody else.
That's right.
Bam, it just goes to crap.
And I think he corrected that with Iconic, which has gone in a much better direction for sure. But yeah, I remember People's Voice, and it was excellent when it first started, and then, like you said, it degraded because the wrong people were actually directing it. It's such an important consideration, and it's just throwing it out there, folks. No one wants to think about dying, but it's something we tend to avoid in Western culture, discussing.
That's the Dream Theater quote I wanted to say. There was a line in one of their songs. They had a psychiatrist talking, and he says, "Death is not the end, but only a transition."
Right.
And that's true. Everything changes. Like one of the Hermetic principles, nothing ever stops. Everything's in motion.
That's right.
So even the death is just changing into something else. So if we pass, if we don't do anything about it or plan ahead or are aware of time and space and everything, when we go, this goes with us.
That's why we got to transition our operations. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Just like we transition.
Yes.
Ivan, that's a profound thought to just think about. I think you've actually sort of lit a little bit of a fire under me, and I realize that's something that I'm going to have to focus on and need to do, and not wait a long time, because another day is never guaranteed. You know what I mean? And again, we're not trying to be morbid. We're trying to just say, hey, anything could happen in the 3D reality. Life is not safe in general, and we're not in a safe situation, to say the least. So it's something that people should definitely consider and make plans for. So I think that is some really profound material to think about for, food for thought there. So what do you say we go to some phone calls to round out the show and see what questions they have for you and where they might want to take it?
See what I can answer. If I don't know, I don't know.
Okay. Yep. All right, give me a moment here. Let's see how I'm going to handle this. Let me see if I can move this over any. I'll try to keep you centered, and I can still see the callers. All right, I think that'll work well. Here we go. As a matter of fact, let me hide my dock. That'll help it even more. And I'll bring it down like this. Beautiful. Okay. All right, let's hear from Axel. Axel, you are live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest, Ivan Oyola Jr. Welcome.
Hello, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You're coming
Yeah,
through
yeah.
loud and clear.
Thank you. Great show. I really appreciate everything you do. You're like a mentor to me, same as Ivan.
Thank you.
I've been watching your podcast in order, and I am at podcast 199. I always listen to Ivan to the calling show
Yes.
section. He brings great point. He's a very knowledgeable
Always.
person, as you are. And you inspire me to do the great work and put some content out to the people as well. And because I'm very fed up to the ignorance of people, as you guys are as well, because people yet to still don't see the evil of this planet. Like Ivan said before, people want to accept a wrong belief system and try to tolerate evil and everything that is bad instead of doing something about it. And it's very important to act upon the evil and try to stop evil instead of saying, oh, there's nothing we can do about it, and try to lay down and, accept everything. And that is why people they try to tolerate evil. That is why we're heading into a totalitarian state, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying? And yet people can see it. I want to ask a question to Ivan about what he thinks about the World Health Organization trying to do a world government with the UN and with all this crap called the monkeypox. Because I know it's all a distraction, because there's something very big coming, and many people don't have any idea what's coming. You know what I'm saying?
Ivan, your take on that?
Yeah, the little bit that I'm aware of with that, it could be another psyop, because they did have a little meeting not too long ago where they had scenarios played out. It's like, oh, X amount of people may be exposed, X amount dying, and then this is gonna ramp up this, and then we're gonna have to go ahead and take, the World Health Organization is gonna have to take the reins to start giving governments their procedures of what to do, when to lock down, and all this. Yeah, it's again, COVID was a kick. Open the door for what the masters can and can't get away with, which is basically everything, because everybody locked themselves up at home and believed whatever came out of the CDC and World Health Organization. So yes, that World Health Organization pandemic treaty they're trying to pass, and everybody believes, hey, it's justified because look at what we just had. They don't think of it as a scamdemic that was an excuse for everything coming down the pipe. But yeah, I agree with you. It's people are not awake, they don't care, and consequences, we get what we deserve, sadly, because we're attached at the hip with all the rest of these sleeping people.
It was a psyop, McFly. I got to make that shirt because it covers everything. And like I said, on the back, I'm probably going to say which one, ? Pick one, period.
Yeah.
Because what hasn't been,
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a lot of ignorance in the freedom community, freedom movement. And freedom movement anywhere. Still, people are ignorant. It's very sad. They buy into many psyops, which is unbelievably.
How many people
sad.
I personally know that did not recognize the whole COVID thing as a psyop and bought into it and went into fear mode and quadrupled down. Even this long after everything was shown that it wasn't what they were making it out to be, and that lies were happening and the treatments were being prevented. They know all of this and they're still quadrupling down on it. I would not glorify them to even do them the service to say their name aloud. But let me tell you something. The profound disappointment as human beings that I feel for them knows no bounds. That's all I have to say. I would never even say their name aloud because as far as I'm concerned, to me, until they vocalize to the world how wrong they were, they don't exist. And that's many, many people. And I mean people who I personally know, probably counts into 20 or 30. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah. I wouldn't even speak their name aloud ever again.
Axel, I will bring it back to something we were talking about earlier in the show with awareness. Because awareness, even on the regular people out there, you would think any awareness would illustrate that when you're out in public and there's still all these hundreds of thousands or millions of people out there, and yet we're being told that there was a pandemic that killed all these millions of people, but we're still here, and yet they want to still think that we need boosters or we might need to go back to mandates or still walking around with masks. That's a lack of awareness, because your eyes are telling you, like, wait, if things were actually as bad as we were told, a whole bunch of us wouldn't be here. And we're still here. I'm still here. No vaccinations. Rarely didn't wear masks. Maybe a face shield at work. But hello, still here. That should be proof already. 2 years in, yeah, we should be okay. Either we're good, we built up our immune system, or it was bullshit from the get-go. Right. And that right there is part of that awareness that people need to develop.
You know what the real infection and the real virus that spread was the fear and the mindset and the belief in the media. That's what the viral agent, that's what the contagion was. And you know what?
Yes.
Their mental immune system, the people that we're talking about here, was not up to snuff. Their mental immune system was not bolstered enough to resist all of that viral agent, of that fear and that absolutely incorrect mindset that was coming into them and being pushed by people all around them, by people in their own communities, by people in their jobs, by people in their families, etc. So Axel, I want to thank you so much for the call. Great stuff. Thank you for calling in and bringing up those points. Just remember, when the next one comes, it's a PSYOP too. Okay?
Oh, yeah,
yes.
Real quick.
Sure.
With that monkeypox, again, awareness, don't discredit the possibility that might be the vaccinated getting sick. And, oh, look, it's a new thing. It's a monkeypox. Right. Just saying, don't discount the possibility of that.
Also, don't discount that as occult mockery, because they are saying a pox upon the monkeys, which is what they'll refer to us as, monkeys, apes, primates. That's how they look at us. They look at us as less evolved animals, and this is the quote reptilians in a reptilian base brain consciousness saying. The next viral disease that we're going to tell them that they have is that we'll let the monkeys believe that they have a pox. It's definitely a form of occult mockery as well. I joke around, with Jay Parker. We say, oh, the guys at Tavistock, Reginald and Worthington are they're making their standard bet of one crisp British pound. Oh, no. We don't use the dollar. In Tavistock, we still use the British pound. It's one crisp British pound that they are wagering to see if they can convince the world to shut down over monkeypox now, because Reginald defeated Worthington and had Worthington had to give him one crisp British pound because he didn't think that they could shut the world down over the common cold. So, that's how it goes in the occult circles.
The allegory, it's the movie Trading Places is along the same lines.
This is how it goes in the occult world.
Manipulate lives.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. All right, let's go to another caller. Let's hear from Chris. Chris, you're live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest, Ivan Oyola. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Doing well.
All right. I was hearing you guys earlier, and then I apologize. I crashed out, so I'm going to have to come back and catch the bulk of what you were listening to.
No worries. Do you have any questions for Ivan?
I know that you're big into, like, allegorical fiction and, like, right?
Well, movies, I'm a big movie buff, and that tied into all this awakening, Yeah,
kind of same here. Like, I liked reading books, but I had a particular at first I was into the westerns like Louis L'Amour and that kind of thing, but so I like to write, and that's kind of what I'm geared towards, is writing like an allegorical fiction or just something that actually is along the lines of expressing, true reality as it is, even though it might be in a story form. That's what I'm geared towards, because I'm not big on, just making shit up or whatever. I don't.
That's what a lot of this is. Just take truth and just inject truth and make a story and put it in there and put it out, whether in books or movies or whatever. Because when you look around, even the most outlandish kind of movies, you can still find true core, messages in there. It's like, wow, that's kind of what happened today, yesterday, in the past, or today. And yeah, it's all has truth in there.
Screenwriters are always putting allegorical content into their work. Obviously, you have dark agendas going on inside Hollywood, but there are definitely people who are putting positive occult concepts in their work. There are people who are putting positive allegorical content and fiction out to help awaken people. I think it's a powerful medium. Look at somebody like even Larkin Rose, who's on the One Great Work Network with his book, The Iron Web. Which was excellent allegorical fiction, or almost borderline not allegorical, almost borderline just saying it straight out, but wrapped in a great fictional story that was a page turner, So I think it's a good medium. It's a good form, because a lot of people want to take it in that way. You could almost mask it as entertainment, and meanwhile they're getting hit with very powerful moral storytelling.
Right.
Yeah, he mentioned westerns, and I'm thinking of a film that I really didn't watch the whole thing, but the key part sticks out to me. The legend, what is it? The something. Oh my God, I'm thinking Legend of Bagger Vance, but that's not it. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. That key line in there that says, "When the legend becomes fact, print the legend." There's truth right there. Just a simple line. When all this stuff is going on, somebody's a reporter or something doing following up the story on somebody and putting it into print, and they find out that it was all lies, but yet everybody believes it to be true. Print the legend. See, so there's
get the message out through that.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right.
Yeah, I was actually covering. No, I'm sorry. I got mixed up. I had a long week. Sorry.
It's okay. Do you have anything else? Yeah.
Well, one movie that I was watching earlier was called The Fifth Element.
That's a great one.
That has some pretty allegorical.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. That's talking about, you have to put all the other things together, resources, intellect, emotions, behavior, will, but then the ultimate element is spirit, care, true care. That's a very, very good allegorical film there. Bruce Willis, right? And I can't remember the actress's name.
Mila Jovovich.
That's it, Jovovich. Yeah. Great allegorical fiction there. And again, it's alchemical. That's an alchemical allegory, basically, put out through Hollywood. So Hollywood doesn't just do negative things or put out bad ideas and agendas. I may make a presentation about this dynamic at some point called The Occult War in Hollywood. It's one of the things that's kind of on my back burner right now as far as presentations are concerned, but I want to get to it at some point, because I think it should be pointed out that Hollywood is also a double-edged sword. You could say very obviously negative things about what high-level producers and production companies often do. They're certainly members of the cult at some point. It connects in with Satanism. However, there are definitely good screenwriters and good producers that are putting out brilliant allegorical fiction. I think it's something that people have to keep in mind, and it's a constant back and forth struggle going on within that whole community as well. So it's not one thing. A lot of people get hung up on, it's just all this way. No, there's battles going on behind the scenes that certain people are choosing to fight. Certain people pick different battles. They want to be careful about which battles they pick. But there's definitely people waging that war even inside Hollywood.
Yeah, you can. I like to chime in with that.
Sure.
how that ties into this episode about great work, what's, you earn money for and what you don't earn money for. You have some people that make films, like let's say the Wachowskis with The Matrix and all that, but then if it becomes a little too much truth is out there, then some careers get sidelined.
That's right.
And it's like, nope, you're not towing the line, you're expressing too much truth, or you didn't put in too much of our message and agenda in there. So you start seeing them become, go down to little indie house, and like they're no longer making these big blockbusters because they're not towing the line.
That's right.
That helps enslave everyone. So again, I think we, in your earlier podcast, Mark, you would maybe brought up how the Masons, the Masonic order, like in Hollywood you have dark masonry, but you may also have light masonry. So that ties into that constant struggle that there's good films being put out telling truth, and then other films and content being created to enslave and dumb down and occult things from people.
That's exactly right. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, art, storytelling, film, all of it. It's what we decide to do with it that's going to carry the true value of it, and that's going to be determined by the consciousness of the person who creates it. So brilliant points, and Chris, thank you so much for the call and those points that were raised. Let's hear from James Cordner, member of the One Great Work Network, and your partner in crime, right, Ivan?
Well, one of them, he's been on with Francesco and
Okay.
I on the Can You Handle the Truth in Music. He's been on like 2 or 3 times and stuff,
Excellent.
bringing up this crazy music that has truth in it. I mean, who would have thought? Music's supposed to just entertain and get us to drink and have sex, right? I mean, come on, that's what music's for, right?
Welcome, James.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for calling on me.
Sure.
How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
All right, excellent. Good to see you on the East Coast, Ivan. I've been listening this afternoon, and really, I just really just appreciate the time that you guys are taking today to like talk about all the stuff that you're talking about. It's really important, I think, that it gets spoken of the way that you guys are speaking about it. And it's like the I wanted to touch upon the playing to lose part
Sure.
that you guys were talking about, and there's kind of a way to maybe I was misunderstanding a few points that you were making, but I think there's kind of a way to synthesize the playing to win and playing to lose, where you're kind of preparing for the loss, but you're also playing to win at the same time by reinforcing your community and the people around you. Because if we lose, we're kind of all losing together. And if we can at least kind of win a small part of that by making sure that we're not going to turn on each other like a bunch
Sure.
of rabid wolves, where the people living in your street or in your town or whatever, I think that there's a way to do that, and just like by doing a lot of like community work, a lot of community work and whatnot, by talking with literally everybody that you come into contact with about objective morality, and making sure that there's like a baseline of objective morality out there, kind of rattling around in people's heads. Like, no matter who you're talking to, no matter what the topic is, find a way to inject objective morality into that conversation. That's kind of what I've been doing a lot in my day-to-day interactions with people. And then you actually mentioned me earlier in the show, Ivan, and about the live streaming and everything so yeah, the show's been going good on my end and everything. It's been like a year, but like the whole no post-production part is like really exactly why I started doing the live streams. Yep. I've got the kids, I've got the job and the kids and the house and everything to take care of here, with all the well, not the kids, but all the other like entropy with just like clean up the house and all this other good stuff that I have responsibility to. And so like the whole post-production thing is really, and for me, like kind of a hassle. But the trick is with live streaming, and I'm sure Mark, you understand this too better than most people, having been on the radio and everything. And it's you make mistakes. You make mistakes, and you got to kind of go and like you say, push through and just keep powering through, because even with the mistakes like you make, it's still like the good message is still there of what you're trying to do, and people will forgive those mistakes. I guess this isn't even really questions. I guess I just had stuff
No,
I wanted to add in. I hope you don't mind.
I fully agree, Ivan. I'll let you respond to what James just brought up, but I agree regarding a live stream. It's a more raw thing. Mistakes can happen. If you do a lot of preparation to try to really limit what can go wrong. Ivan helped me today do the process that I do every single week. I have what's called a standard operating procedure document that most people with some type of a production workflow will build this. You could just say it's a how-to document, but they generally call it a standard operating procedure or SOP. And then you just go through your list, say at this time we're going to do this, and we're going to make sure this is working right. And then you just make bullet points, or it's like a checklist, and you check off the boxes one at a time. Ivan was here today, and he helped me with the, standard operating procedure document. We just went right down the line, and that helps to eliminate problems that you might encounter. If you do this and make it a standard procedure every week, when you do your live stream, or every day, however often you do it, it will cut back on little time wasting mistakes that show up as something. Oh well, he could have prepared more for that, or eliminated that error. That's what I recommend that people do. And again, it's actually another part of how to become the true media. We go through these things, and I show you how to draw up a document like that. Or just explain it, and show you what's in mine and things like that. Like you'll see the inner sides of a production environment like this, taking a course like that. So again, everybody on the One Great Work Network is welcome to come into the How to Become the True Media seminar. I scholarship all content creators and producers and middle end people. Everybody who's on the network can take the How to Become the True Media seminar. So they could learn, little tactics and techniques like that, and learn other little things that help things go more smoothly, like NDI and other technologies. Tell just briefly before Ivan responds to what you're saying, James, I just want to tell, what is your workflow with video? Do you use a particular service? Do you just go in-house and stream out of something like OBS? What's your general procedure or setup?
Well, I use OBS, and through OBS I integrate Video.Ninja into OBS to bring on guests. Okay. And throughout the last 8 months where I got interested in live streaming, I've just, for a couple of months actually, all I did was I didn't live stream. I had the ability to. I was just sitting there on my computer, messing around with OBS, seeing how everything worked.
What you could do with that tool, yes.
Exactly, like trying to make sense of it for myself and whatnot.
It's a nice tool. I use something a little different than it. That it's has many more capabilities. I was showing that to Ivan earlier, but OBS as open source freeware is an excellent tool that anybody can download immediately and start picking apart and understanding the interface and its capabilities. I think it's a great tool.
Yeah, all it takes is a little time and attention, and seeing how the scenes and how the different sources get plugged into the scene,
right?
And what their capabilities are, like how you can even run a slideshow presentation straight through OBS, and just have to learn how to, even bring in a browser source, all this stuff. It just takes time, and you can, you can figure it out and everything. In fact, I even share my knowledge on it, the limited knowledge I have, with people like Ivan and Sean and whoever comes and asks me. I just, hey, this is what I know, and this is how I can help you learn the stuff I know. It's not thorough, but it's what I know. So and it's
that's what we should be doing as a community: supporting each other, helping each other out, communicating, explaining, how to do little tricks and techniques, to save people time and their own energy, etc. It's all part of resources. It's like resource sharing and skill sharing. James, one more quick question, and then I'll let Ivan respond. The Video Ninja thing that you were talking about, is this a free service? Is it paid? Does it have a scale of price? How does that work?
Video.ninja is, well, you would type that into your URL, and that brings you to essentially a website, and it's free. It's absolutely free.
Okay.
It plugs into OBS through different links.
Cool.
You create a room. You enter the room as the director, they call it the director, and you'd also enter the room as a participant. So you enter the room jointly as both director and participant. It provides you if you're the director, it looks different. If you're just straight up participant, it looks like a Zoom call, as far as I know.
Interesting.
So as the director, you're provided different links for each video feed because it uses everybody's browsers together to create the Zoom call, quote, Zoom call. Right?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this service. I'll have to check it out. Thanks for bringing it up to me. See, I always am learning new things. In the class, in the seminar, people are bringing up things to me that I wasn't aware of, so I learn things. I'm constantly learning new things all the time. It's a never-ending process. So thanks for mentioning that. Ivan, I'll let you respond to what... Sorry, go ahead.
One other quick thing about Video.ninja is that there's a Discord server for it where you can talk to the people that created it directly. So if you're having a problem with it, there's also tutorials online on YouTube and different videos and stuff like that where the creators of the service walk you through how to use it.
Nice.
And if you still can't get what you want
you could
out
actually
of the videos,
talk to them.
you can. Yes, I've talked to the guy who created it directly. I've messaged him, and he's gotten back to me within 10 minutes.
It's pretty good customer support there for a freeware tool,
Yeah. I think he was sick of playing. I think something went down during the scamdemic. He was sick of paying for a Zoom, so he created his own.
Nice.
And it's actually kind of wonderful. It's
very cool.
It's a little rocky, but you get used to it after a little bit. And
for a one-to-one thing like just bringing a guest on, it probably works sufficiently.
The rooms support up to 30 people.
Okay. All right.
And I mean, I wouldn't recommend bringing 30 people onto a show at once, but that's, I think, the limit of the capabilities for the product.
Pretty wild.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Ivan. Respond to what James was referring to.
I'm sorry, what did he say? No, I'm always joking around with James. Yeah, James did that for me. I mean, we were on, what did we do? We did our music stuff with Francesco, and after we were done, we stayed on, about an hour. We screen shared, and you walked me through some of the different things for video editing and OBS or whatever. So, yeah. And then the thing is, just like this show, while we're the theme, James didn't charge me anything for it. No money, no proxies were required in order to exchange knowledge and information. Imagine that.
God forbid.
That's right.
You guys are criminals.
Well, that's because your time and attention is. I can't ask anything in trade. That's enough for me. You gave me your time and attention, and to me that was just like, I'm not wasting my breath here. Here's a guy who's gonna eventually. He's going to retain this, and he's going to eventually use it, and he's going to do good with it. So why should I withhold it? It's the whole idea about what we do is the knowledge, whether it be with tech or even just the philosophy and the know-how of how to apply these principles into our everyday life. If it can be that or the tech, either which way, who are we to take that and to keep it for ourselves and charge an entrance fee? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's why I've tried to keep everything as free as possible with What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network, instead of putting things behind paywalls and things like that. I know people do that for different reasons. I'm not going to just outrightly terribly judge them for that. But at this point in history, we have to make this information out there as freely as possible, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So I applaud anybody that tries to not go to that type of a model. If they absolutely have to, okay, so be it. But I think your approach to it is the right one.
I have one other thing to really say about that. Before you guys started taking calls, Ivan, you guys were making another point about the future and everything, and it brought to mind something that I have had rattling around in my brain for quite a while now, ever since the first time I heard it. And it's a quote attributed to a man named Hyacinth Loyson, and he said, "Blessed are those who plant trees under whose shade they will not sit."
There you go.
And to me, having children in a world as, excuse my language, but in a world as fucked up as this world is, we need to take that, what I just said, that quote, man, that hits right home with me.
Sure.
And I'm so glad that you guys, like, toward the end of your talk, you guys kind of started talking about that. It's like kind of a solutions in the future. Like, we can't forget about that. There's going to be a future, whether we are here or
That's
not.
right. Yep.
You know, and we got to plant those trees, man.
And
we can't be selfish.
That's passing
you know?
our skills along to the next generation of human beings. So it's a very, very, very important aspect of it, without a doubt.
Yeah. These podcasts, they kind of serve as like a time capsule as well.
Yes.
You know, it's extremely important. You know, especially with objective morality, making sure that one point gets driven so hard into people's heads. It's just, we're gonna fall apart without it, and we're already close to that. And I believe we can pick the pieces back up and put ourselves back together, but without objective morality,
it's not possible. Yes, but with that understanding, I think we could turn this around at hour 11, minute 59, second 59. It's a choice in the moment.
Yep.
But we do require that basic knowledge of objective morality and natural law. Without that, there's no foundation upon which any future stands. James, brilliant points. Thank you for sharing aspects of your own workflow. Ladies and gentlemen, James Cordner of One Great Work Network, content creator. Thank you for the great work that you do, James.
Thank you. Without guys, I guess, you know, Ivan, you know, man, you like took me under your wing in a way. You were like, hey, come here, buddy. And Mark, you know, man, like the work that you've been doing over the years, I was resistant. Sean McCann was like, look at Mark's work for like years and years. I've always been like a nonconformist for a very for like almost, it feels like forever. But you know, the ebbs and flows of the world, man. Sean McCann was like, look at this dude's work. And I was like, yeah. And then I finally did, because I was angry. I was really angry about how things were going. And I heard you talking to Jay Parker one day, and you just went off for like an hour. And I was like, this dude gets me. And I was just like all about it from then on out. And then I started hearing Ivan's voice coming through the radio waves. And it's just like it inspired me to make my own show.
There you go.
And then it was like, I'm gonna take this little torch, and I'm gonna carry it too.
Synchronicity too. Good synchronicities there. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to meet all these guys, and like, you guys all inspire me, and I just want to be like not letting anyone down.
Oh, not at all. You're doing great stuff, brother. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
And also, just like I made the effort, I'm here with Mark face to face. This is maybe the 4th, 5th time we do this, the Free Your Mind conferences. You came out to the conference in Arizona, and then also being here, make use, be aware, the awareness. I didn't just come from my son's wedding. It's like, look, I'm here. I can go to Philly. There's Mark. And guess what? I saw Joe Murray the other day, and tomorrow, Monday, Joe Murray and I will go up, and we're going to meet up with James, and we're going to hang out face to face. See, so all three of you, I didn't know anything about you guys, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but yeah, the truth and honesty and doing in the work, look, we get to meet, we come together, and that's what it's about. You know, we're not just on the internet and know each other digitally, artificially, but in real life, now face to face, the hugs, the warmth, the emotion is like, okay, we're real people, we exist. And this ties into, again, to the freaking topic, the theme of the show. If we let money and, you know, the way everything's supposed to be rule us, well, I can't afford to go, I got to work, I don't have the time for this and that, we stay distant, we stay separated. But little by little said, no, fuck that, I'm going to go ahead and save up some money, make the trip. Hey, you took the day off tomorrow to be able to do this. Joe took the day off tomorrow to do this. See? So again, bucking the system, saying, no, we're not going to conform to the rules and regulations. Like, oh, you got to do this to make your money in order to feed, clothe, and shelter yourself. We're like, no, we're going to change that and do what matters, what's important, because this comes before all that monetary stuff, if we're being honest with ourselves.
That's right. And in-person networking and getting together is extremely important, and it's a part of an emotional support system as well, in addition to just sharing ideas. So I think that should be kept in mind as well and practiced. So great point for great thing to bring that up as well, Ivan. James, thank you so much for your call and the points that you raised. Keep up the great work, my friend.
Well, thank you guys for your time, Ivan. I'll see you tomorrow, buddy. Mark, thank you. I'll hear you again next week. Possibly even maybe one of these days you and I can have a chat or something like that.
Absolutely.
All right,
no
brother.
doubt.
Great.
Thanks
All
again.
right. Peace out, guys.
Bye-bye.
Later, James.
All right. Ivan, you know what? I want to just cut a little bit in the call time to ask you a question myself. So here's my call in. I want you to, because one of the things that I get from people who are thinking about starting to do the great work and start to talk about natural law and objective morality out in the public, one of the things that I find is their biggest point of hesitancy is they think that the technical aspect of all of this is going to be too difficult for them. They think maybe they don't have the actual capacity or ability to understand it. What was your learning curve like when you were starting to look at the technology involved and starting to utilize it, to actually use it? How difficult did you find that process? How hard was it for you? What was the learning curve like? Did you build that up in your mind, as I feel many people do, and then find it wasn't that bad? Was it as bad as you imagined? Just give me your take on all of that.
You're talking like making the podcast,
yes,
right?
Everything
and
that you
recording
did.
Stuff and using a computer.
Yes, all of it technologically.
It's like everything else. It's a hurdle. It's like a hump you got to get over. It's like I'm very technically. I know technical stuff. I'm into home theater stuff, movies. With VCRs,
Right.
TVs, and speakers, home theaters, electronics, and I'm good. I'm okay with gadgets. Computers. I never went to schools to any classes for that or anything. But trial and error. I just jumped in like, oh, what's this do? What's that do? What's this do? And that was it. As far as surfing the internet and printing stuff, and okay. Then when it came to this, the same thing applies. Like, all right, I have some information. All right, let me step into the arena. What do I know? What can I do here? Oh, I can record this, adjust the levels. It was too loud, too low, and just trial and error. You just keep messing around with it, and you figure it out. Okay, I'm good with the audio. I edited it. It's out there. Done. Let me try the video stuff. Then you dabble some more. It's like, oh, that the resolution was too low. It looked too pixelized, or the file was too big. It's just little things, trial and error. But the thing is, I started, I didn't jump completely in, but yet you tiptoe. Okay, you try it. This is good. You step a little more, like the escalator that I was saying, the steps I was saying before. You started with the audio podcast, then the resolution goes higher, and then it's more. You get guests on, you learn how to talk with people, ask questions. And little by little, you keep advancing. But the thing is to start. Like everything else is just begin, get started, and don't stay in the same spot. I mean, it's fine. I mean, at least you're doing something. That's the other balance thing too.
Grow your skills, right?
Yeah, but if you're doing something, you're doing more than all the others that
That's
are not.
right.
But don't stay stagnant. Don't stay right there and content. I mean, again, we may not need to judge people and be like, oh, okay, but then it's a natural thing where you're like, dude, you can be doing so much more. Hey girl, come on, you got this information, you're doing this, you can bump it up a bit, keep it evolving, growing. Growing is natural, you keep going. It's a progression. You just keep going. So if you already started, just keep going.
That's right. The important part is you began. You didn't stay not begun, unbegun. You began. You didn't let fear hold you back from starting. That's the biggest stumbling point. That's the biggest sticking point, that people have something built up in their mind about why they can't do something, and so they never begin. All that is a mental virus. That's something to take away possibility from yourself. The only thing that you got to do is shift that into, you know what, I don't think I can't, to I'm going to just try. You don't even have to think I definitely can. I absolutely am going to. I'm not even going to say it doesn't even have to be that positive. How about that? Okay? It could be way more neutral. And it could be like, let me try and see what it is. That's it. just go to that, right? That's progress. That's at least stepping out of fear and saying, I'm going to try to do something instead of doing nothing. So
I was going to say, this ties into stuff we were talking about earlier, awareness. If you're not aware of the possibility that you can be a podcaster, a truth speaker, because of fear, I might fuck up, I might mess up. Well, guess what? You're in fear. You're not trying. But if you're aware of the possibility, all right, let me at least just record 10 minutes on a thing. Yeah, you know what? I think government is slavery. I think, everything's keeping us down. And I think there's a possibility. Okay, you're aware of your possibility. You did something. Now you keep going. And the more you keep trying, the fear gets less.
That's right.
The possibilities, your awareness and possibilities expand, and you go from recording a little 10-minute audio thing to doing a 2-hour, video round table with 3, 4, 5 people from all over the world. You're in Arizona, somebody's in New York, somebody's in Italy, somebody's in the UK. All that from just recording 10, 15 minutes on an audio thing, and you went from there to here.
Because you grew your skill sets. You became more aware of how things work, and in the process, you'll grow your audience as well. All people have to do is break out of that mindset of I can't, and I'm not good enough, and I'm too afraid to try. To just try. You don't have to fully succeed at first. You learn by making mistakes. You learn by failure as well. You shouldn't be afraid of that. That's life lessons. We're going to talk about that in the class as well. Learning from your mistakes, how failure is important, and just never giving up. So, I just wanted to bring that up and ask you about your personal process as far as the learning curve and what you thought, was possible. I'm glad to see that you didn't take the attitude of fear and you just jumped in and tried and saw what you could do and then built up your skill sets from there. I think that's great advice for anybody who's just starting out. For the people who have a little bit of fear and trepidation, the thing that makes that go away the most is knowledge. So something like the How to Become the True Media seminar, I'll just go straight out with a plug for it. You will get over that fear because you will develop so much knowledge about how things actually do work, you won't be afraid of them anymore. Knowledge dispels fear. That's what the seminar is partly all about. All right, let's go to someone else here. Let's hear from Jackie. Jackie, you are live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest, Ivan Oyola Jr. of the One Great Work Network. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Great. Oh, well, I'm calling from Phoenix, Ivan. It's hot as ever out here.
Oh, okay.
Right from your neck of the woods.
Yeah, so something I wanted to bring up is that since I started doing the One Great Work, making my own content myself, I've been realizing that I think that we should actually be using the same tools that the dark occultists are using. And I think that could mean going so far as to implement like trigger words, color psychology, maybe even like marketing or sound and subliminal messaging. So I wanted to see what you thought about that.
I'll jump in on that topic first and then turn it over to Ivan. I'll be pretty brief. I honestly do not have that much of a problem with that. The only problem I would have with it is if people tried to keep on doing that to someone after they've shown they get it, they're learning, they're becoming autodidactic and doing their own self-learning process. You have to know when to take those reins off, when to not, tug on those reins anymore. It's like educating a child and then eventually allowing them to go into the world and make their own choices and decisions. So I'm going to say I don't have a moral problem with it if it's done for the right reason, if it's done for true moral education and the practitioner is using techniques like that out of true agape love and care for the development of the mindset and understanding of that individual. But the reins have to definitely come off at some point, and that's my general take on it. And that may surprise some people, but I think tools are generally neutral, and it's how we use them. And if that's done for the great work of morally educating people, I say so be it, and use every tactical advantage at our disposal if we understand how to use those tools. They are there for a reason. And it is a razor's edge to walk. You have to already be in the consciousness of not controlling, because some people can look at what the potential of that is and see you can really definitely lead someone in almost any direction you want them to go. I've repeatedly thought about this in my own work, and I have used some techniques like that. And I feel like I did walk that razor's edge and not, try to hold those reins on people longer than should. And I think I've really spurred some people on with anger. It's another technique. I mean, people have brought it up with giving people a swift kick in the ass if they're not really motivated and doing what they should. I really don't want to be like some father figure getting up in people's face like that. I don't really see myself in that role. I want to see myself more in a role of equals and peers, etc. And having mutual respect for each other as adults, quite frankly. But my take is those methods are fine as long as we use them in the right capacity and with the correct intentions in mind. And we take the reins off when required, and not keep that lever pressed any 1 second longer than it has to be. Ivan, your take on that?
Yeah, it sounds like training wheels. But if you notice, I think I probably use that in a more subtle kind of way, and I stick to the colors. Mm-hmm. If you notice my Free Your Mind website, from the first day, I haven't even updated that whole background, but it's the black, basic black, but in the top, it's got like that rainbow transition. It goes like, with the red, blue, and green. So always with the colors, like the police, red and blue to keep you going left brain, right brain, left brain. But I always put the green in there for the balance.
Right.
Same thing with the Truth Mind Reality Conference. I used that in creating the symbol, the logo there too, where it was the thoughts, the flame, knowledge, illumination, that was blue, creativity, imagination. But then the reality, thinking, that's the red, logic. But then the imagination and creativity was green,
that's right.
Balance. And then recently also with the sanitizing the insanity. Also used it with that, showing people that were red and blue, but then the sponge cleaning that was named Truth was in green.
Turns it green, right.
The people that it went over turned green. See, so that was little subtle ways of using those, symbols and ways of getting, those occulted information kind of thing in the positive. It was like, oh, look. And even when I do most of my podcast, video casts and stuff, I know, I'll learn from you, Mark, here in July how to create more of the title cards and, putting stuff in there. But for the most part, when you go to my website or One Great Work Network, you see a lot of my title cards just basic green with the black letters on there. Because, again, green, I would just want to keep the balance, natural balance, earthly, that welcoming thing is green. That feels healthy and natural.
Yes.
So that's one of the subtle ways that I'm kind of, using is through the colors
nice.
And the symbols.
Excellent. Jackie, I want to bring up one more resource. You also mentioned like speech patterning, word choice, things like that. Those are generally part of an overarching set of methods called NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Now, I would rather look at it as neuro-linguistic influencing rather than just the word programming. But if you study NLP, I'll give you a good. There's a lot of NLP information on the ARC drive as well, as a matter of fact. But I'll give you one gentleman's name that I think employed. And people will say, oh, he was a bad guy, or he was accused of bad things. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm looking at simply his technique, his method. If you study Richard Bandler's work, who's probably one of the forefront guys on NLP, you'll see how he used word patterning, word choice, etc. And I find his work to be an excellent resource. Again, you can believe what you want about things that happened regarding him and his life. And again, it's part of separating the person from the work that they've put out into the world. Some people could tell you I'm not a good person to deal with, and people can choose to believe them or not. You know, nobody's perfect in life. Nobody's an angel, you know. So, you know, always obviously take with a grain of salt a person's personality and their themselves as an individual. But if you look at their words and what they are saying, you could take, you know, very great understanding from that. So I would recommend the work of Richard Bandler, Bandler, Richard Bandler, on NLP if you're looking to look further into that type of a topic. Just wanted to throw that out there for you. Thank you.
Yeah, I got the ARC drive, so I'll be looking into it.
Yeah, Bandler's work is on there, so definitely check it out. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all the time we have for this edition of What on Earth is Happening. Ivan, tell them where they can find your work.
FreeYourMindAZ.com.
Anywhere
And
else?
the One Great Work Network.
And One Great Work Network. Ivan, thank you so much for the great work that you do. Phenomenal guest here on What on Earth is Happening. I love all the topics that you brought up. We had some great callers. Check out Free Your Mind AZ for Ivan Oiola's work, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, government is slavery. We'll see you right here next week.
We preach to all who hear our words what philosophy